Hello, Michael. How are you doing today?
I am great, man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good, doing good. Yes. Great. Ready
Are
for
you? Are you
it.
really?
Yes.
It doesn't sound like
Let's do it. Just so many stuff late, but it's okay. We start on time. All good.
it. A lot to cover today. Yeah. So welcome everybody to AGTP Insights number 137. You know the drill. We go live every Monday. Today's Thursday. We go live Thursday as well at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We talk about the most important tech stories in the US. Today's Thursday, as I said, the 27th of August, 2026. We want to talk about a bunch of stuff today. You may have heard that Nvidia is acquiring Hugging Face. Humanoid robots keep beating Usain Bolt's record. Ox Alpha is actually Z.ai's GLM 5.3 flash. Anthropic loads up on compute capacity, and Hugging Face launches a $399 robot. Also, we have some good guests tonight. Kent Kaufman, the co-founder of the AI Institute of Silicon Valley. He's going to join us to talk about how AI infrastructure and organizational capability just help businesses operate and execute. And finally, Julian Kwan, a guy I've known for quite some time, actually, the CEO at IXS, is going to join us to talk about how regulated tokenization infrastructure can impact financial institutions participating in private markets. Martin, you want to talk about Hugging Face and Nvidia? There's a lot about Hugging Face tonight. So Nvidia has reportedly agreed, and this is surprising, right? Because we've had so much news about Hugging Face recently, most of which is centered around OpenAI hacking into their system. So fair enough. But Nvidia has reportedly agreed to acquire Hugging Face for $12.9 billion. Okay, this was first reported by The Information. But Nvidia and Hugging Face have, even though they've not publicly commented on this stuff, this number has been bandied around quite a bit, actually. People were saying 13 billion, 12.9, close enough for me. And why Hugging Face? Why would Nvidia do this? And again, I don't want to get into all the details, but here's the thing. Hugging Face has literally become one of the central, if not the central distribution and collaboration platform for, and I hate to use this term, but for open, and I put in parentheses, wait, artificial intelligence, because if I just say for open AI, it's going to sound like I'm talking about open AI, and I'm not, right? More, and how many models do they have on Hugging Face? More than 3 million models have been published through the platform.
3 million, wow.
Yeah. It also has like enterprise collaboration tools and some managed inference services. Why do I find that so hard to say right now? And Nvidia, not surprisingly, is already an investor and a commercial partner. It participated in Hugging Face's $235 million financing round in 2023. It's a few years ago, which valued the company even back then at $4.5 billion. So now what is it, 13? Let's just call it 13. I like round numbers better than 12.9. So 2023 is 3 years ago. So it's gone up 2.75 times in the last 3 years. I mean, I guess that's good, right? The companies are also integrated NVIDIA's DGX cloud into Hugging Face so developers could train models using NVIDIA's infrastructure directly from the platform. And that's just another reason why NVIDIA would do this, right? They're just so deeply embedded into what's happening at Hugging Face that it makes sense. There are some questions though about this. I'm curious what you think about this, and then I can get to some of the questions that I have about like why I think this is actually more interesting. What do you think?
So first of all, the first thing very interesting to me is that Hugging Face founder is French. So it's like
I don't think. Why does that matter? Seriously, only a French person would say that. Like nobody would ever say like
No.
the founder's American. Like nobody cares.
Yeah, because most of the founders are either Americans or Chinese. That's like
Well, why do we
table
care?
stake.
But like,
But
what's
no,
the impact on the business if the guy's French?
So first of all, the funny thing is that the founder is French, but he's living in the US, which
Of
doesn't
course.
make Hugging Face a French company. So it doesn't come from like the French tech scene or the French startup scene. It comes from the American one. So that's another example of like Europe and France basically losing, right? Like there has been a French entrepreneur building $1 billion company, selling the company company potentially becoming a guy who's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars in the deal in just a couple of years, and nothing happened in France,
I hate
basically.
to say this though. This is not
So,
unique to France or to Europe, and I'll tell you why. Like
mhm,
I understand what you're saying, and you're right. It's a loss
mhm,
for France and for Europe.
mhm, mhm.
They should be way better at this.
Yeah,
Like if you
absolutely.
consider like how well educated a typical French like smart guy is,
Yes.
they're really well educated. There's some structural issue that makes these guys, but again, to be fair, Martin, that structural issue also exists in Southeast Asia. We can talk about what some of those things are as well, because you see
Mhm,
plenty of people, whether they're venture capitalists or company founders, go, you know what? I've reached the limit of what I can do. This is China's separate, yeah, and India's separate
mhm, mhm, mhm,
of what I can do in this region, and I'm going to move to Silicon Valley to see if I can figure some stuff out.
mhm,
Like that's
mhm,
not new, no.
mhm.
So go
Yeah,
ahead. What do you think?
I don't know if they moved to Silicon Valley after some time or if they just started from there, from the get go.
Yep.
But still, like, it's a company that could have been, built and grown from France, right? Like it's like the way Mistral is trying to do, basically, right?
Trying,
Like
yeah.
in Mistral, they took the decision to stay in France and to work with French investors and French clients, and I mean at least European clients and investors, not only French. But that's not what Hugging Face did, and if they really sell the company for $13 billion, like it's huge, right? Like it's a massive win for the French entrepreneur scene, I would say, which is happening outside of France. So,
But why does anybody care about that? Like, why is that relevant to this part of the story?
because it could have happened in France. It could have been Mistral,
Nobody only you
participating.
care about this though.
No, it's obviously like not related to the deal itself, right? Like, but it's just
Okay,
like
that's clear.
one example of something that could have happened differently, right?
Yeah.
But then going back to the deal itself, I think it's really interesting. Like everything we see in Nvidia and everything we've been talking about in the last, I think, couple of weeks now, they're really expanding their footprint into the AI space, right? Like they're not just saying, hey, we are just going to build chips and providing compute. They are really buying the companies or at least investing in them who are basically going to become either their client or their distributor, or are going to complete the stack in which Nvidia doesn't participate yet, but thanks to this acquisition or investment, now they can control more of the AI stack and be involved into more stuff. So yeah, I think that's how I see that, and that's actually a really, really smart move from them.
So do you know what other acquisitions they've made just this year?
Go ahead.
So Illumex, which they bought in February, builds semantic data infrastructure. This is actually really interesting. Kumo, which is the Japanese word for cloud. I don't know why they called it that, but Kumo.ai, they bought for more than 400 million bucks in May.
Okay.
And then they bought another company in April, which they haven't disclosed yet, but they have some regulatory filings around it. It wasn't that big, but that doesn't include like all the companies that they've invested in. We talked about this at the
Yeah.
beginning of the week. They've invested $2 billion in Nebius.
Mm.
They've invested in Lumentum, which is an optical component manufacturer. We just talked about the poolside stuff. They invested in Schedule MD. I mean, they're trying to build a whole bunch of stuff here that nobody else actually can compete with. This is different, I think, than the SpaceX business, right? But they're building their own capacity. They're building their own models. They're trying to dominate the open weight model space. And Jensen Huang is on record. He's on tape as saying like he thinks open weight's actually really important. He
Yep.
sat on stage in a bunch of different places and doing it. And Hugging Face is the place where much of the open weight and open model community discovers and distributes their AI models.
Mhm,
Right. So
mhm,
it's a
mhm.
really, really important connection, I think, between the model creators themselves and the developers that are using it. Yeah.
See, so I don't know if it's a testament of Nvidia saying, hey, we really believe in open weight and that's the way to go. I think it's just them saying we believe in open weight, but they are also super involved with OpenAI and Anthropic. Like it's not like they do nothing
Well,
at all.
they are from a commercial perspective, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In the
yeah.
sense that they're making a massive bet across the spectrum. They don't care who
Exactly.
wins at
Exactly. Yes,
all.
yes, yes,
Right? So
yes.
they're agnostic about who wins here, but
Exactly.
they're very religious about who uses their stuff.
Yes. Yes,
And to
yes,
the
yes, yes,
extent that
yes.
they can encourage, that they can give money to OpenAI, they can give money to Anthropic, that then they give back to Nvidia. to purchase their stuff, whether it's their capacity, whether it's their chips, or just their software. They're happy to give that money, but it doesn't mean they're making a bet on them,
Exactly. Yes.
right?
Yes. That's exactly my point. I've seen a lot of things recently was saying Nvidia, like say open source, open weight is the way to go. That's what they believe in and stuff like that. I don't think it's true. I think they just bet on everybody, open weight and also closed source, and then they want to be involved everywhere. Like it's not because they go by urgent phase that it means that they are going to be doing open weight only from now on. I just wanted to get the numbers right. They invested 30 billion in OpenAI and 10 billion in Anthropic. So like a total combine of 40 billion in the two companies. So yeah, they are also deeply deeply involved into the closed source providers.
What's Nvidia's revenue every year?
Let's check. Nvidia revenue 2026 215 billion.
Right.
And up from 130 billion in fiscal year 2025. So they're
Right.
like
Well, also
80% growth.
their latest quarterly revenue is $96 billion. So in the next
wow.
4 quarters, they could have way more than their $250 billion for fiscal, because they're already in fiscal 2027. So that could be a much higher number. The point is that the $40 billion, and I said this today during ATP Insights, like all these numbers sound really, really big, but in the context that they're operating, $30 billion for OpenAI and $10 billion for Anthropic, just based on how much money they're going to give back to
Yeah.
to Nvidia, to me seems like whatever. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like it's that big a number. It's
Yeah,
the number itself is huge. That's fair.
like
But in the context of what's being I mean, think about this. Meta says they're going to invest somewhere between 135 and 155 billion dollars in 2026. So they're 30 to 30 billion dollars in being invested in it's just such a small number in this context. Yeah, they're deeply invested, I think, across the spectrum in all these companies. But buying Hugging Face gives them real insights, I think, into some things that other people are not going to be able to see. And all the model usage and all the data usage that they're going to be able to see that goes through Hugging Face, I think is going to be really important. Plus, they get a French guy. So it's a win for everybody.
It is indeed a win for everybody. Also, like I was checking the yearly profit of Nvidia last year, they made $120 billion profit. So basically, they can spend 12 billion per month. Like they just wait 1 month, and then boom, they can buy a company at $12 billion. Like
it's kind of like what I spend every month, just on computing.
Exactly. Yes.
Just on computers, which then I end up giving to you. I don't know why I spend all that money on these computers.
It's good. It's to live to me after, so it's perfect. But yeah, no, it's true. It's not that much of a big number like compared to like everything else what we see, but still like Hugging Face still in for 13 billion. Like when did they start? Like when did they? Because I remember like we were talking about them when ChatGPT launched in 2022, it was one of the biggest players where you could like download models and stuff. It was really cool.
Hugging Face, you mean?
Yeah, Hugging Face. I think they launched in 2022. Huh? Launch date. It was like
Hugging Face was launched. It was founded in 2016.
Oh, that was okay. So they were doing a lot of that even before ChatGPT as well. Okay.
Yeah. So they originally, I mean, it's weird. The company's named Hugging Face. I have no idea like where they came up with this stuff. But it was originally a chatbot company.
Okay.
Targeted teenagers. They must have been watching like what Snap was doing and some other companies back in 2016. And they named it after an emoji.
Yes.
So fair enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, this is really cool. Really, really cool. Good job from them. And yeah, let's see what Nvidia is going to do. Like, do you think they bought it because in a way they missed open router that could have given them as well like all the information about the model and also like all the distribution and what the developer
so that's the reason why I think they're doing this, right? Yeah. That's why I think they're doing this. If they have 3 million models there's a whole bunch of information and a whole bunch of data you can get by. So Hugging Face was already connected to Nvidia's cloud. So now that relationship is like now Nvidia owns that relationship, right? So this is them actually trying to remember we talked about this, like how these companies are trying to build full stack,
Yes.
right? So we went to SpaceX who said like we'll build capacity first, then we'll build that then we have a model but nobody's using it, then we buy cursor, then we build our own chips, and now we're going to have this entire sort of AI infrastructure, and then we'll joke about putting stuff in space, but we won't really do that. We'll just build Colossus 3 in like Tennessee or wherever they're going to build it. Nvidia went through this in reverse, right? They had all the chips, which was just happenstance, right? I don't think they said like AI is going to be a big thing, so we're going to make better GPUs. They just were the GPU company. But now once they realized, and they also started building their own capacity. Now they're building a cloud business. Now they're also building this AI. They want to build their own models as well. And now they're going to get all this data and information from owning Hugging Face. It's a real leg up for them, it seems to me. And their revenue, like Hugging Face's revenue, right? Even though they say they were almost profitable. Duh, don't do that to me. $150 million.
Okay.
So they're not buying it for their revenue. Right. This is not a transaction just because the economics make sense. It's a transaction, I think, because the data and the information make sense. But also remember this. The information that I get with a company that everybody can talk to is different than the information that I can get for a company that I own.
Yes.
Right. So part of this is also, this is a little bit of offense and a little bit of defense. You understand what I mean?
Yes,
yeah?
yes, definitely, yes. Also, like there is potentially like a lot of growth possible for Hugging Face, right? Like if
For sure.
because like right now we've been speaking about open weight model, open source model, especially from China. That was like the main provider of open weight models. But now that Muse is coming, and like also Google that release models that are better and better. Maybe at some point Anthropic and OpenAI will come back to the open weight model class, and so like they plus like I think like from the public opinion, like everybody pretty much like, right, like the open weight model plus all the potential that the company have in terms of data retention, fine tuning, and all of these things. So it's possible that this ecosystem of open weight model actually grows so much, and the best way to access them may be through a platform like a Hugging Face, right? And so just the potential of the industry as a whole can be much bigger, and so that's also a bet I think that they'd want the future. That if open weight becomes bigger, then Hugging Face can be a major player. So we better buy it now, but it's not too big, and then keep building it with them and making it like a really large and important player.
So one of my hot takes here is that all these models that are closed today are going to be open, or at least they're going to have some functionality that's open weight by the end of the year.
By the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. Because I don't think they're going to be able to wait on this. I think that Anthropic and OpenAI, and I think that SpaceX AI as well, is just going to go open weight. And I think part of it is just a marketing thing, but the other part of it is, and this was going to be one of the stories that I wanted to talk about today, but we'll just kind of weave it in here. And that is that the hardware that's getting built by, whether it is Xiaomi, who's building an AI cube, right, or Perplexity, who's building something they're calling the computer. You also have Nvidia building their own hardware. There's a whole slew of hardware being built just to run some of these lighter and smaller models on device.
Yep.
And I think if you want to be in the on-device business, because again, just because it's open weight, you have to, the audience cannot forget about Linux. Just because that was open source, I know the difference between open source and open weight. Don't email me on this. I know the difference. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you make it open weight, there are still services you can offer around it. Okay. And one of the things that I found out by all the recordings that we do with guests, you hear me ask them the same question. Are you considering using the open weight models? And everybody's answer is pretty much the same. It goes in this way. One is, yeah, for some things, for the easy stuff, I'll do the open weight models. But the services that companies like OpenAI and Anthropic offer to me are way better than what the open weight model companies offer me. So I think that there's a real opportunity, again, to be like the red hat of artificial intelligence. And you can, even if you open weight your model, you can still make money by offering services around it. And again, one of the guys that I spoke to today on ATP Insight said exactly that to me. He's like, yeah, we think about it, but the benefit, and he was actually our first guest today. He was like, the benefits that we get by using OpenAI and all the services that they offer us are way better than doing open weight and trying to fine tune and do all that stuff on our own.
Yeah, and plus also, like, let's not forget that open weight as of today is still really, really expensive to be able to run that, right? And so when
Well,
you
yeah,
compare,
that's the point. That's the reason why I talked
Mhm,
about all this new hardware as well,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because, but I want to make this point too, right? That part of the new hardware is released by Apple, and Apple did their M5 Ultra and their M6 Pro chips, and we've been talking about this for a couple of months, but they've also raised the price of their Mac Mini.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Mac Mini originally, just for the core, the base model was $599. Now it's $899.
Mhm, mhm.
And part of the reason why, and also the Mac Studio is going to get more expensive as well. It's very expensive, actually. I think it's almost $3,000. And the reason why is because they're putting these super high powered chips in there because they want people to run the artificial intelligence on that device. So they
Mhm,
have to make it more powerful and they have to give it a more powerful chip. And this is one of the reasons why I think that by the end of this year, by the end of 2026, it'll either be announced or rolled out that even some of the biggest companies, not all their models, but they will in the same way, right? That OpenAI has what, 3 models sold? I can't remember. It's the moon, the sun, and the stars. I can't remember what their official names are, right? But one of
mhm,
them's pretty cheap
mhm, mhm.
and pretty small. Doesn't have 5 trillion parameters. And I think they're going to do the same thing with the open weight stuff. They're going to take like the minimum viable thing they can do, or maybe the maximum viable thing that they can do, and then open weight that. And I think all that's going to happen by the end of this year. What do you think?
Mhm. Yes, no, definitely, definitely, definitely. I think it makes ton of sense. I think it made ton of sense, and I think what's gonna push open weight is just like actually in the last couple of days I was testing some open weight models, right? Like I was
Right.
like, you know what about we install one of the model on our big PC and then we see if we can integrate that into the workflow. So the major problem that I hit was that it was super, super slow compared to using iQ of the smallest model that we have in the cloud. Even and I checked for Qwen 27 billion, so a pretty small model. And even though it could run like easily on our PC, that still costs $3,000, right? So it's like pretty expensive. You can buy 30 months at $100 per month on the Anthropic plan
Mm-mm.
at this price. And iCrew is crazy fast, can do everything I want, like super, super fast. And Qwen 27B was super, super, super slow. And I was like, you know what? Let's just forget, because it's like factors difference, right? It's like maybe like 50 times slower,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just like 2 or 3, and you can walk around it. No, it's like 50 times, and like it's a completely new thing. So that's why you're like, okay, maybe I will just like spend a little bit of money to for the cloud services, because it's just easier, it's faster, and I have the PC, so that's good. I don't need to pay for anything. But if I had to buy a new PC, I would be like, yeah, $3,000, $4,000, or the $20 per month subscription. It's the economy don't make sense yet. So I don't know if it's gonna be driven by that type of use case. But what can drive open weight adoption, I think, is more on the enterprise side, where they really don't want to share their data, where they have more money to invest into hardware, and they may potentially want to fine tune or post train the model to actually put their own data into the model, and that shouldn't never leave the premise of a company. So in this case, the only solution is to do it open weights, and then that may accelerate the adoption of this model, I think, to me. But today, I don't know, like let's say for example DeepSeek, like one of the most famous one. I don't know,
Mm.
like how, like if you take 100% of the users of DeepSeek, how many of them use it because it's cheap through the API, and how many of them actually install it on their hardware. hardware? Like what is the split? I would not be surprised that we are like 90% plus who use it through the API.
Easy.
So
It's 95% and 5%. I mean, those are
yeah.
rounded numbers. But part of the reason why is because there's no expertise out there on actually how to fine tune these models, right?
Yeah, so which means like if the model was open weight or closed weight, it would be exactly the
That's
same.
why I said
right?
at the beginning of this that
Yeah.
like it's more of a marketing thing than an actual practical thing, because nobody even knows how to use the weights.
So nobody know how to use them. Nobody has the hardware as well. So
Right.
like if you
Because
even if you knew,
even big institutions, Martin,
Mhm.
or like I always, when we talk about big institutions, I think about the institutions where I've worked, right? And you know, they've already fixed their budgets for 2027 for the types of software and hardware they're going to spend, right? So this is why my contention is that the model companies themselves have to acquiesce and give in and say, okay, well, we're going to open weight, right? Like, why not open weight 5.6 tera? Nobody cares. It's the weakest model they have. Luna, excuse me, right? Why not open weight like Luna? Like, what? Nobody cares. But they're not going to open weight GPT 5.6 Soul. They're just not going to do it. But even if they did, a big company like Goldman Sachs doesn't have the resources yet.
Yes.
But just think about what they'd have to buy to be able to run this, like a cluster of 11,000 Nvidia
Exactly.
Blackwell chips. Where are they going to get those chips from? And what kind of machines are they going to sit? And even if they were going to buy a bunch of, Mac Studios, where are they going to put them?
Exactly.
Because most of the computing that these big companies do, for better or for worse, is 75% in somebody else's cloud. So that cloud, when you say on device, it's going to have to be like a device that somebody else is running in a cloud somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. No, for sure.
So it's like, so I think they're going to open weight them, but I don't think that those open weights are going to be used ubiquitously, because I don't think it's going to be possible. But I do think from a marketing and a communications perspective, it's going to be really important for them to go, you want an open weight? You have open weight.
Yes. So then that could be the driver. Yes, I agree. That could be the driver. That also would be the driver in terms of this distribution, because then you can be on platform like Odin Face, for example, who can distribute your model. You can be on Open Router and all of these things, that you can be on Amazon Bedrock, and maybe like in terms of distribution plus marketing, it can definitely make sense. But in terms of use case, I still think it's pretty hard as of now, right? Like to use an open weight to the full capacity of like what you can do with them. Maybe tomorrow like the on device can change a little bit, like if Apple runs something really cool. Just because it can be really fast, and for some small query maybe it can be enough. Like at the end of the day, that's really that was like the deal breaker for me on using Quen, was that it was too slow. But if it was fast enough, the same way iQ was fast, then I would maybe be like, okay, you know what, like maybe I can do something.
It was too slow on device, yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
too
the
slow
cloud
on device.
implementation of it, there was no speed latency. It was just if you run
It's
it on
way
device,
faster.
yeah.
It's way faster because we have
Yeah.
better hardware, right? Like, and so
No,
my
that's the
computer
point, is you don't have a
is not
cluster of
enough.
11,000 Nvidia
Exactly.
Blackwell chips.
Yeah, and I still pay $3,000 for the PC, right? So if that's not enough, then let me just buy a subscription at $50 per month, right? Like, so that's why like if tomorrow we have on device, it needs to be specific. If we want on device to be effective, to be useful, like against the cloud, I think the only use cases are something that are small, that are quick, that are
Which is the
like,
feedback we get from all the people that are actually out there using it at either at sort of Series D funded companies or even large institutions.
And but it means that it's really, really tiny, because I'm telling you, like the requests that I've asked Quen to do are small requests. Like it's not that I asked him to do a massive thing, Like what I've asked was something
Which version
tiny.
Which version of Quen were you running?
The latest one.
Which is which version though?
I don't remember the name, but the one that we got released like last week or something like this. The $27 billion, $7 billion. No, $27 billion parameter.
I think you've overspent a little bit on the PC if it's $27 billion. 25 was the limit, I thought we said.
No.
But look, Martin, Neil Calvert, right, who's the CEO at Link, had a great conversation with him on ATP Insights today. And one of the things he talked about was that the benefit to them, this is the point that I was trying to make earlier, is that the benefit to them for running with OpenAI, he said he uses ChatGPT, was the fact that it's just conventionally easier to use. than them actually running open weight models.
Yes.
Speed or no speed, right? I don't think he said they were testing them. And I don't know what kind of environment in which they were testing, and I don't know what kind of equipment on which they were testing, but he never mentioned a speed problem.
Okay.
It was just like ease of use and services that were built around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's that. But at the end of the day, we have pretty much the same experience, right? Like we tried open weight, and then we're like, you know what? Actually, it doesn't really fit the workflow. The cloud is actually easier, right? And so let's just go back to cloud, basically. So
Fair enough.
and I just checked, like the Qwen is a Qwen 3.8, Michael. So the
that's what I
Qwen
thought.
3.8,
Okay.
27 billion parameter version that got released really recently, and that's really slow, and I just couldn't use it. But in terms of outputs, it was good. Like, it really, I was very happy with the output. It was working well. It can replace iCool like without any problem, but it's too slow. And so I'm like,
It's
and
too
plus,
slow
like,
on device. Yeah.
yeah, it's too slow on device, and I don't like the idea of letting my computer run 24/7. I would rather put it in the cloud. I think it's always better. So yeah, here's how it goes. But yeah, a lot of let's see how this evolve.
So you want to talk about the humanoid robots again?
Yes, because we had Michael, like a massive improvement in the world record.
We talked about this a little bit on Monday, right? So this
Yes.
Tiangong Ultra set a new 100-meter record for the humanoid robot, and we actually talked about this on Monday a lot, on our Monday show. So the initial winning time at the inaugural game, so the first World Humanoid Robot Games in 2025, was 21.5 seconds. Now, the number that we first talked about on Monday was 9.39 seconds. But that same robot ran 8.86 seconds in the semifinal.
Wow.
And in the final, it was 8.64 seconds. But it also exploded.
Yes, I don't think I have the video. Yeah, I didn't save the video. It's related forever to find. But basically, you see the robot like starting the 100 meters, super fast. Then he passed the finish line, and then they just don't stop. And
no,
then
they crash into the wall. But one of them actually literally broke into pieces and caught on fire.
Yes.
And there's also video. This is, I thought, was actually quite funny as well. There was video of one of the robots on the sideline with one of the, must be one of the like developer guys. Yeah. The robot had like a shawl on. I don't know if you know what a shawl is. It was like a jacket like draped over their shoulders. And the guy was fanning it like from behind.
Okay.
And I think the thing was overheating.
Okay.
You know what overheating is? Like the engine was getting too hot. And the robot was just like standing there getting fanned by this guy. Like, I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah, they are really fast. They just do one thing really well, but then they can't even stop, or they need people to to give them some cool hair. But still, like it's really funny. I think like how the story is evolving with this robot. Like we're not going to say the exact same thing that we said on Monday, but they made them cute, they made them funny, you know, like they made them positive. Like the entire story.
Red.
Yeah, some of them are red, but like the entire story about robots is so positive. It's so like, okay, they did this thing that's good, they did that thing that's funny, they did this thing that's just broke a new world record. And I think at the end of the day, it's really the best way to do these things. And yeah, like the World Humanoid Robots James, yes, that's the name. Every day it looks like there is something new, there is something like more fun and even better that these robots are doing there. And so a lot of people are talking about them right now in a positive manner, right? And even when we saw the Unitary robot yesterday at the event, we were like, oh, that's fun. Can you do this thing and can you do that thing? Because we were like intrigued by the performance, right? And so I think this is where things get pretty interesting. Like it's positive, it's cool, and it's just getting better and better.
Yeah, but also they're trying to make the robots like seem more friendly.
Yes, very friendly.
And seem less dangerous, right? Because it's so easy to go out there. We said this on Monday a lot as well, but I think it's worth repeating, and that is, you know, there's all this sort of Sturm and Drang out there about like how dangerous robots are going to be. They're going to take your job. They're going to steal your wife. You know what I mean? They're going to take your daughter to the prom and all this stuff. They're trying to make them sound dangerous when in reality, they're just going to do what you tell them to do.
Yes, 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 yes,
Do
yes,
you
yes,
know
yes,
what I
yes,
mean?
yes.
They're not going to walk off the track, go grab like an AK-47 and start shooting the audience. Like that's just not going to happen. So to show them in a way that's cute and funny and stuff like that, and even falling down, it minimizes the sort of fear. And I think that's one of
Yeah,
the whole points of this. So
exactly.
the point of the the humanoid robot competition, it's multifaceted, but one of the points is just to go like, hey man, these things aren't that scary.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Do you know what I
Yep.
mean?
And I think it works really, really well. I think it works really well. Kudos to them. I think it's a really big, yeah, a big success. Big success.
We used to do this with DeepMind, right? So DeepMind would play chess against Gary
Yes.
Kasparov.
Hmm, hmm.
Right. And at the beginning, he would just beat them and he would be like really sort of arrogant about it. Like, please, no machines. I think I've been playing chess since I was in my mother's womb. Like, still a rook stuck inside there. And once it started winning, they stopped playing because you
Yep.
can, like, I don't know how familiar are you with chess? Are you a good chess player?
No, I really don't know much.
But I mean, there are books written on like openings, closings, mid part of the game. Like, you just
Yes,
have to,
yes, yes, yes,
it's
yes, yes.
not like,
There's so many.
I'm not saying it's not that hard. It's hard, but it's like if you remember all of these opening moves and opening gambits and stuff like that, which a
Mhm,
computer can do in its
mhm,
sleep, it just can't be that hard to win.
mhm.
If you're a computer, right? Because again, you have no emotion. Like if you watch some of these chess matches, like some of the guys will show up in like reflecting glasses just to distract the other guy
Mhm,
and
mhm,
just to
mhm, mhm.
annoy them. Like there was this one guy who was famous for showing up like an hour late, just making the other guy wait and get like all edgy and get all agita up.
So it's Magnus Carlsen
Of course.
who plays speed chess, and so they have a 5 minutes clock each, and yeah, he shows up like 4 minutes late
Yeah.
to beat a
To a 5 minute game,
5 minutes,
just to piss the other guy off. No one likes this guy, Magnus Carlsen.
and then he wins, and so
He's not. I mean, he's not winning all the time anymore. But
no, no.
that's the problem when you go from like a child prodigy into like an adult that's playing other adults.
But
People
still, like
figure
he
you out.
has, like
No, he's
he's
good. Obviously, he's a grandmaster and stuff. But still,
he's the number one, and I mean I don't know enough about chess, but for what I know about Magnus Carlsen, he's the guy who has won the most almost ever, like in terms of world championship, competition, and everything that he's done. Amazing thing, and he's still really, really young.
so one of the other interesting things about this humanoid robot race is that they all had to be autonomous.
Okay,
Yeah, because you could not have a remote control.
okay,
Like it had to start, and the rules were different. So even the people that were there were saying like, this is not. The result was that they finished faster than a human, but the
okay,
rules were not the same as the human rules anyway.
okay, okay,
Like
okay,
I don't know
okay.
how the races started. I don't know if there was a gunshot. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I didn't look at the
Mm-hmm,
way the races started. All I looked at was sort of the interim stuff of these guys running really fast.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's like, can an airplane fly faster than a bird? I mean, sure.
No, of course, of course, of course. It's not surprising, but it's positive. So that's why I
No, no,
think
it's not negative at
it's
all.
mhm,
I
mhm,
don't think
mhm.
it. I don't think at all.
Yep. Nope.
What are the overall implications here?
The overall implication of this,
Yeah.
I think it's just that robots are getting really, really good, and exactly as we said on Monday, like they have the platform, they have the games to get better, and thanks to that they will be able to do more useful things than just running 100 meters and then crashing into the wall. So because there's a competition, because there is an audience, because it's looked at worldwide, one of the big implications is that people like it, people love it, people tomorrow like will not be scared about robots. So that's really, really good, really positive. And then they have the platform to now make better robots. So when we talked to Unitree a few days ago, I thought it was really interesting that they sell the robots as an open source platform on which you can build your own software to
Mm,
actually get the robot to do whatever you want, right? And so basically they don't sell you a robot that
it
does
does
something for
stuff.
you, right? And none of the robots, when you buy it, it does nothing. Okay. And then you build the software and you teach the robot to actually do things for you. And so to have a robot that's fast, to have a robot that's agile, to have a robot that can, I don't know, run fast, jump high, stuff like that, carry heavy stuff. That's just a way for them to demonstrate how good their robot is, and once again to have like an environment where they can make progress in a funny way. And that's really similar to racing cars, I would say. Like, you can't buy an F1, but if you know that this team made the best engine, then you are more likely to say, okay, I trust this company to make great engine. I think this is really similar. And so for making people want to build stuff on robots, I think this is one of the biggest implication here. From now on, you kind of want to try. You want to get the robot home, and you want to try to build the software, and then teach the robot something, and see if it's possible. The only massive drawback, and why we can't do that, is that it's super expensive. Like, these like tiny unitary robots start at $30,000, right? So you can't
Mm.
really buy one just to have fun and just to test. I think this is one of the biggest issue here for adoption and for testing. It's not like a software or an open weight model. We just have an API, you put $50 to it, and you just test if it works for 2 hours, and then you stop. No, you have to pay a robot $30,000. So it's a much bigger commitment to just do a 2 hours test, right? Like, so I
So
think this
that
is what's really slowing things down.
that's actually what I think this whole thing is, right? I think
Mm,
these world humanoid robot games are really just like one big science experiment.
yeah.
Because they used to do this in high school. They used to say like, okay, build a robot that does this one thing, that lifts
Mhm,
up like Q-tips or lifts up,
mhm,
popsicle sticks and see if it can stack them over
mhm.
there.
Okay.
Now this is just doing that at scale.
Yes.
And actually the other interesting output I think from this is that they had 21 competitions that were like practical scenarios.
Okay.
It's like stuff that real humans could really do. And what they found was that the current Chinese humanoid robots can perform some basic work at roughly 20% of human output.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, according to some of these stories that I read. So it's good, but again, you can't generalize by like what the results are today.
Yes, and once again, like last year, they were doing what, 21 second for the 1 meter.
21.5 and now it's
So
8.64.
so
So
that's why, like, in
but
just
that's
a
the
year.
point I'm trying to make, is that like the fact that the robot can do, and remember, a sprint race is something you can train for, and it's unchanged. Like nothing changes during the race. Nothing. You don't have to adapt to anything. It doesn't start raining. Somebody doesn't run in your way. There's no baby carriage crossing the street. The light doesn't change. Like none of this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
So in a fixed environment or a predictable condition environment, it's
Mhm,
real, and you can test this at home. Do you know what I mean? Like before the robot gets on the track, you can actually build your own track. There's a track in your town, and you can have it
mhm,
run the 100-meter race anywhere.
mhm, mhm.
So when it gets to the games, it's not like, uh-oh, what am I doing here? It knows what to do. But like to actually build a robot that can sense things and change, we'll get there.
Mhm,
We're
mhm.
not there yet. And I think what you're seeing here is just one gigantic science fair.
Yes, exactly. That's the science fair. I completely agree. And this is fun. This is cool.
No, it's super cool, and I think it's useful. And what's going
Yeah.
to happen over time, obviously, is that science fair is going to go away because
Mhm.
the real robots are actually
Yes.
going to get useful enough. Like one day, we're just going to have this thing where like the robots just start doing stuff, and people are like, "Yep, I accept it." Hey, and I wonder when they're going to do those games again, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's going to
Exactly.
make,
Exactly.
I don't want to say humanize them, but it's going to make them seem like just more friendly.
Exactly. Way more friendly. Way more friendly. And plus also, like, let's not discount the fact that when you have two companies that sell something, like, if you want to know who's the best, just make them compete to a game, right? Like, this is a very easy way for a company to display how good they are. I mean, that has been the strategy for motor racing forever, right? Like, why Toyota, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW, why they are all fighting in, like, the endurance 24 hours races, the rally red, the F1. Like, it's
Yeah,
just really to
that's just
to
a science fair for them.
it's
Same
just a
thing.
science fair, just to display like how good they are, and of course, like, for branding and marketing as well, to say, hey, look, we are able to build cars that can do that. But of course, when you win rally or F1, I mean, it really helps your brand as well, in terms
For
of
sure.
being able to show how good your engineering is. So that's also part of the game here, right? Like, so I think it's really similar model. and it's net neutral as well. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
Michael, let's.
I tried to find a Red Bull dealership, because I want to buy one of those cars that they have in F1.
Okay.
But all they had was those little cans of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It
So
was weird.
Red Bull, is it still the case this year? Yeah, I think this year they are still powered by Honda. So
I don't
like,
think so. You talk about the engine.
yes, I think this year
Mm,
is the last one.
maybe.
Let me confirm. But then they are
You
going
can
to
double
switch
check that.
to Ford. But I think this year is the
Ford.
last. Yeah, Ford. Yep, pretty interesting.
Mm,
It's yeah. So yeah, Ford is going to help them, but so it's pretty clear that it's actually a Honda engine, and then Honda use that in Japan to show like what they can do and stuff like that, right?
fair
So
enough.
so that's how they benefit from it. But yeah, there is no Red Bull dealership, which is
Darn.
which
I
is
was
always pretty
misled.
funny. Like, is it the only one that besides them and Haas? I don't think Haas is also selling cars. Like Haas is just no, they are not. They are just like racing in the US. But then like Mercedes, Alpine, McLaren, Ferrari.
What is Haas
Um,
trying to show off? You know what I mean? Like, why are they participating in this science experiment? Like, oil works in cars. It's just, we already know this.
yeah, yep. But yeah, no, really, really cool. Talking about robot, Michael, you want to talk about the Hugging Face robot?
Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about Ox Alpha first?
I think like because we're on the robot, so let's just continue on the Hugging Face robot.
So the Hugging Face, these guys introduced something that they're calling micro duck.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's much more to say about that.
So first of all,
So it's a small bipedal robot.
Mhm.
It's designed for developers who want to experiment with reinforcement learning on real hardware. Now, all the videos that I've seen of it, I don't know if they're real or not, but it's a weird looking little thing. This thing cannot cost 30 grand, right? Have you seen the videos?
Yes. Wait, I need to do
It
the
stands,
lower
you want
third
to put the,
quickly.
you want
Yeah.
to put it up? So while you're doing that, I'll keep talking. So microduck stands 25 centimeters tall. So it's a little shorter than I am and weighs about 800 grams. So it's a tiny, tiny little thing. It has 15 motors, a camera, LiDAR, and 2 motion sensing units. This to me is a real, like, I'm struggling to figure out what the big deal is about this. This seems to me like a, what is that thing? Arduino?
Okay.
What's the name of that thing that they ship?
Which one?
The one like just the motherboard that has a computer on it. Come on, what's it called?
I don't know. Of Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, the Raspberry Pi. That's what this seems
Okay.
like to me.
Okay.
Like, it's powerful enough to do a bunch of stuff. Actually, I believe the Raspberry Pi is probably more powerful than this micro duck thing. But this feels to me like a I mean, if you look at it, first of all, it's tiny. It can't really do anything. It's not going to manufacture cars. And it looks like a platform for testing stuff. The little stuff.
Yep. So they sell it, Michael, for $399. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's on the definitely cheap side. And so they say it's open source, it's biped, so it doesn't have like arms and claw and things like this to actually grab stuff.
Right.
But you can basically build software to be able to teach the robot to actually do stuff, right? You can control the robot. It has camera, speakers, lidar. Like, how do you pronounce this thing?
LiDAR.
LiDAR. It has like a bunch of ways to connect to his environment and to understand where he is, and then you can build the software to actually once again control it and make it do stuff. So for me, that's really, really interesting, is because like right after we talked just right after we finished recording ATP today, talking about robot
You bought
and
one.
no, and autonomous car. I was like, we may be able to get something really, really cheap. It doesn't look to me like one robot needs to be $30,000 dollars for the Unitree. I was like, I'm pretty sure if we can get like a V1 of something that can help us, actually get into it, start using robots, start developing things, and a couple of hours after, they may have listened to me. They launched a $400 robot on the market. So yeah, so I don't know like if you can really do a lot of stuff with that. It doesn't look like you can do a lot of things. But it's V1. It's the first iteration. That's the first time we have this new interface, right? Like a physical robot on which we can put a software, and then the robot will actually behave the way we want him to behave at a price that is accessible for everybody. So I think this is a really cool MVP to see how it goes, to start developing software, and then to gather feedback, and then to keep developing from there.
What's the point though? Like, what are they? Why is first of all, why is Hugging Face involved in the micro
So
duck business?
so it's a
Martin,
so
the thing is, because you're not involved, and this is not a political thing,
okay.
but because you don't pay attention as much as I do to U.S. politics,
Mhm.
you don't understand how funny the name of this thing is.
Okay.
I can't say why, but the audience knows.
Okay.
Let's just say there have been a lot of people accusing other people of having micro ducks
Okay.
recently.
Okay.
Replace the word duck with some other word that's small. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why this is so funny that they've actually come out and named it this thing.
Yeah, plus that they are doing that in the US, so they are aware of what's going on there.
They know what they're doing. That's my
Exactly.
point, is that they're aware of this. But also, it doesn't look like a duck.
Mhm.
But my real question is, like, what are they trying to accomplish? In other words, why would they spend any of their engineering time, any of their time? I know they have a robotics group inside there, but what are they trying to actually accomplish with this? What do we think? And do you think that now that this has been bought by Nvidia, that this is going to be the demonstration? Because Nvidia also has their own robotics department that's developing robots that are much more sophisticated than this. I'm just curious, like, what they were trying to do here.
Yep. So we didn't speak to them, right? Like, so I don't know exactly like what is the strategy behind that, and exactly what they want to achieve. Like,
Right.
we should ask this question to them directly. We will have a much better answer. But if I were to answer that myself, what I would say is, once again, it's just a V1. It's just a V1 to get something out and to put a physical robot, let's put it this way, that has capabilities of doing some movements in the hand of developers of tech team. And so then we can start doing some things with them just to test how the software responds, what type of software we need to build, what
Yep.
are the needs as well that the developers need. Like, do they need 2 arms, do we need 3 arms, do we need 4 arms, do we need one, do we need an arm at all, like do we need one camera, 2 cameras, do we need 360 degrees vision or not? Do we need the Wi-Fi or not? Like this, I think there's a million questions that you have when you want to start creating this interface. And it's not at the $30,000 price point that you're gonna have 1,000 developers or 10,000 developers who will be able to build something with that. But at the $400 price point, that's a different story. And now you can put that into the hand of a lot of people, start gathering feedback, and then V2, V3, V4, V5 are going to be more powerful, better, stronger, and everything, and much more how to say, much more able to do better use case that we don't know yet because we have never tried. And not like, instead of having every independent team like me, for example, tomorrow having to build the hardware plus the software, I can buy this thing and now I have the hardware, I can start, and then we can together make more progress. That's really the way that I see that.
Would you rather have that or like an Xpeng?
I mean, that's not the same price point, huh?
That's my
That's the
point,
thing.
though. But
That's
that's
the
my
thing.
point, though. Like, I'm just curious, like, what one can learn from having a micro duck lying around that they couldn't have
Yeah.
learned already
Is it
from other platforms.
so once again, like, that's a $400. The Unitree that we saw, that's $30,000.
Yeah,
So
but so the presumption is that anybody's actually paying 30,000. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to just like giving it to a university to let them test it and stuff like that. Like, my guess is that Xpeng and Unitree, at some level, because for them it's a test as well, that they're giving away this stuff, particularly to people that are actually doing tests on it and then giving the results back to them. Right. So for someone
Yes,
like you,
that's pretty
for
good.
someone like you are, or that I am, they're never going to give it to us.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right.
and so
But to
now we
people that
have,
are actually doing real robotics work, my guess is that these platforms are actually giving these things away, particularly the
yes.
early versions of them, because that's the best way for them to get feedback from people that care.
And so I think this is exactly what Poland Robotics through Hugging Face is exactly trying to expand. Not only universities, not only big partners, but everybody. And
Yeah.
everybody cannot afford a $30,000 robot just for testing, but a $400 one, why not? Right? Like, and so I think this is the beginning of something that can get much, much larger. And this is really
Yeah.
the V1, the it's just like basically the phone that can connect to the network. That's it. Like you just have these box, and which you can type a phone number and you can take it out of home. There is nothing else. That's it, right? Like there is a tiny battery. Like I don't know, Michael, like what the phone number one looked like, because I was because I'm too young. But think about it. I think you need to think about it in this term. That's the not smartphone, like that's the mobile phone number one, right? And
So this was
it's
going to be my other
yeah.
contention today.
Mhm,
Actually, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to spend some time talking about hardware,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I'll tell you why. So first of all, I don't think this robot's going to have any impact. I just don't think
Okay.
so, and I don't even think it's going to. But again, I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to have wide distribution because I think people that are serious about robotics are actually going to use like more sort of sophisticated robots that have much more processing power and have more sensors on them, so they can actually learn stuff and do stuff. And because now it's been purchased by Nvidia has other sort of robotic stuff that people can test. It just feels like a weird thing to me. But I will say this. I think in a shorter period of time than most people think,
Mhm,
the power of companies like Microsoft, like Apple, that make the computing platforms that we use today and that are so ubiquitous could potentially go away or
okay.
just become much smaller because now the ability to create hardware and the software that runs on it is no longer dependent on just a mouse, a keyboard, and a box.
Mhm,
And that you see companies like Nvidia, like Xiaomi, like Perplexity, all building their own hardware because they want to run AI specific functionality on them. And I think at some level, they're going to displace, in the same way that Apple and IBM at the time, but all the PC makers displaced the microcomputer makers
mhm,
because those microcomputers were built for different things than the PCs were built for.
mhm,
And those microcomputer companies were huge, but they're gone.
mhm.
And I think we may be running into the same thing right now on the hardware side because everybody now somehow look, it was the same thing that I said to the guy from Pony.ai today. Like in my lifetime, Martin, when I was when I was your age, the likelihood that somebody was going to start a car company,
Okay.
no, it was just insane because it was like, how do you ever get to the production level where it's going to make sense from an economy of scale standpoint?
Mhm, mhm,
And like what like who would start a car company just because the capex to start it is so high?
mhm.
But like now, everyone and their brother starting a new car company. Well, China has like 6 or 7 new
Yeah,
car
true.
companies, all of these either EVs or HEVs,
Mhm, mhm,
and they just seem to have come out of nowhere. But I think the same thing's going to happen in the hardware space for computing platforms,
mhm.
right? And
Okay.
you see companies doing this, right? Like XPeng is not a robotics company per se.
Mhm, mhm.
It's a vehicle company.
Yeah.
But they're saying all this stuff, and this is one of the conversations I had with the guy from Pony.ai, and he thought it was a really interesting concept, was that all the stuff that they've learned from building autonomous vehicles
Mhm.
are almost directly transferable to building autonomous
Yes.
robots.
Yep, 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 yep. They were
Because
saying it's really close to
because
each
what's the
other.
difference, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. They were saying it's really close to each other. So
But think about it. How come Apple doesn't have a robotics department?
and they
That's
tried the
weird.
they tried the car, right? They tried the car and they
We
failed.
think so. We think so, right? Project
Okay.
Titan. We think
Yeah.
that they tried
Yeah.
a car.
Okay.
I believe that they did, as you do.
Okay.
But think about it. They didn't succeed, and they have an
No.
unlimited amount of money to invest in it.
Mhm, 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 mhm.
And they never rolled anything out. You never saw a picture of
No.
it. You never saw anything.
Never.
So
Never.
that's
Never.
my
Never.
contention here is that companies like Apple which now dominated in the same way that BlackBerry dominated the mobile phone market and actually continued to grow after the iPhone was released,
Mhm.
just in one day just disappeared.
Yes, we are going to have one of these companies, Michael, on the show really soon. I think in 2 or 3 weeks, we're gonna have Motorola on the show. We were like massive players in the mobile phone business back in 2010,
I
right?
had a
Like
Motorola
I've
phone.
right,
I had two of them.
and then they disappeared, right? Like they got completely crushed. And like when they reached out to us on ATP, I was like, wait, are we talking about the Motorola, like the phone company about
Yeah, exactly.
15 years ago? I literally asked that. I was like, are we talking about that? Like, or is it like just a company that has the same name, you know? Like
Exactly.
I literally asked, I would say, is it that same company?
That's funny.
And they say to me, yes, it's the same. And so they reinvented themselves and they do something different. But yeah, like that's exactly to your point. Like a lot of companies who were early have since disappeared and then had to do something else. And we can talk
But
about
we
HTC as well.
see it happening. Everybody's
Yes,
announcing like
yes.
new little bits and pieces of hardware, and once they get into
Mhm.
the hardware business,
True.
the slippery slope into building robots and robotics and other
Mhm.
things are not that far away.
Yep. So which means that the cost of robotics is going to come down like
Massively.
massively as well, very fast, really really fast. But I think it's cool because we've been talking about robotics forever, right? I feel like it's something that I don't know is like 10, 15 years old, right? Like that people are trying to
Way
build
longer, but yeah,
robots and like we see videos and robots doing stuff. But I feel like right now we may be really close to the moment where we can actually touch robots. We can actually buy them. We can actually have robots with us. And I feel like it's really close to
I don't think we're
okay,
that far away.
yes. And
I
so
completely agree with you.
that's why like this Odin Face launches Micro Dutch. It's maybe like the first time that we can actually buy something that will look like how we're gonna use robot in 5 years, right? Like I think
Okay,
we
that I
are
completely disagree with you with.
no
We're
no
not
no
going
no
to
no
use a
no no no
robot
no
that looks like Microduck, but
no,
go
no, no, no,
ahead.
no, 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 not on the design side, more on the behavior side, like buying something to then customize with the
Oh,
software
yeah,
and
fair
then
enough.
teaching something.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I mean.
100%.
Like what I find very interesting into this microduct is this flow, right? Like the software, the teaching, and all of
Hmm.
that. I don't I don't really have an opinion about the robot itself. I don't think that really matters right now. I think what matters to me is that it's $400 and we can start developing software for robots. That's a new behavior that we haven't been able to do. And I think that's the future. Then in
And
5 years, in 10 years, we may have much, much stronger robots that can do a lot of stuff.
oh,
And
definitely.
that may be the first one, the chat GPT moment, if you want, that just get us into the world of robotics 15 years after they started to develop it.
I
And
wouldn't be
we,
surprised if in
yes,
like 6 or 7 years you have a robot in your house just
yeah,
like doing shit. And I
yep.
don't mean like a Roomba like doing crappy vacuuming. I just mean like,
Hmm.
do you know what I mean? A robot you could send downstairs to 7-Eleven and buy
Yeah,
like a
I
protein
agree.
drink for you.
I
I don't
agree.
think that that's that far away at
I
all,
agree.
actually.
And I think it's really accelerating, and I think we are just close to start considering this for real, I think, right? So I
Yeah.
think this is really cool. I think this is a really exciting times in the robotic space. I wonder what's gonna be matter. Like let's speculate a bit. What do you think is gonna be the first use case? Like AI first massive use case has been developers, right? Like for the
Mm-hmm.
engineering team. That's really what has made AI from okay, it's a chatbot, it's fun from 2022 to the end of 2025 to then okay, now it's very serious. You get to adopt AI agents, especially if you're a developer. So it has been that the one really big use case and target segment that changed everything for AI. Let's make bets on what is it for
So
robots.
do you think this is for individual use or for institutional use?
Let's take in individual use. Let's say for you and me, we have a robot at home doing what? What is the first use case that made robots like a no-brainer? You have to have them.
Oh, I think it's super easy. That's
Okay,
easy.
go ahead.
Ego boosting. Oh my God, you look great today.
I was not ready for that. You look great.
Clearly, you were not ready for that.
I'm not really not. I didn't expect that at all.
That's
But
why I
okay,
said it.
can
No,
work.
I don't think that's going to be a real use case. Um, I don't know because I can't imagine like the robot doing cooking. Here's the thing: I think it's going to be really battery dependent. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Um, and remember, one of the other people we had on the show today on ATP Insights was the woman Leanne. And once you have electricity just like roaming around, you run the risk of fires. Like one of the things she
Yes.
said was like a huge percentage of the fires that were happening in the bush in Australia were due to just like loose wires and stuff like that because they weren't protecting them enough.
Yes.
And we have to be really careful during the first implementations of robots to make sure that they're actually safe, right? But I
Yeah, it's
can't.
true.
I don't know what it would do. It's got to be some job that you don't want to do, like toilet cleaning, or you know what I mean, or cleaning the house, or doing laundry, or doing like just some sort of simple repetitive task. In my mind, like the thing that I hated doing when I was a kid was shoveling snow
Okay.
because it would snow like 3 feet, and I'd have to shovel like a sidewalk. I mean, a driveway that was like 50 or 60 meters long.
Okay.
While it was snowing, it was like it was impossible to keep up. But then again, how do you get a robot in that temperature? Or mowing the lawn, you know what I mean? Like cutting grass, I think in the suburbs of the United States, I think would be a use case for it.
Okay. Okay. So
I
cleaning, I
don't know. What do you
think.
think?
So I have two ideas. The first one is cleaning. So this is that is actually starting to happen right now. Like in
Yeah.
San Francisco, there is this company called 1H Neo that is basically right now using robots to clean people's home. So either you can buy the robot for $20,000 pre-order, or you can get the robot to clean your home for $30 an hour. So it's
But again, why would you have a robot clean your home for $30 an hour
yes,
when you could
exactly.
get somebody to clean your house for
Exactly.
$30 an hour?
Yes. So once again, that's V1 and plus that the robot seems super slow and like we don't know if it's clean good or not. But once again, that's just like V1, right? That's the first use case, and as you said, probably something that you don't want to do. And so robots maybe sorry, cleaning may be option one. I think it's possible that the first big use case is cleaning. The second one, and I really don't know why it's not done yet, it's cooking. I think the market is massive.
I don't think so. I don't think somebody wants a
Really?
robot cooking in their house.
Really? Like how many single men just hate cooking and
You're
just
just
would
not, you
love
know, this is, you're just like talking your own position right now. That's all you're doing.
and would just love to have a robot cooking for them. I think
No,
it's
no, 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 no. I want to
really
have, no, no, no,
like
no.
if you are alone, Michael, do you want like the robot to cook for you, or do you want to cook yourself?
I want to go out to dinner. I don't want to go. It's,
Okay.
it's not that. Here's the thing. So are these robots in Japan or they're in the United States?
So these ones they are in San Francisco.
Right. So that in San Francisco may be cleaning, but I don't think cooking is going to happen. I just don't think so. Because I think it's weird. Like if you invite somebody over and the robot's cooking, it just feels like a weird thing. But in Japan, I 100% know what the initial use case is for individuals.
Go ahead.
And this is going to sound funny, but I don't mean it. It's dating for like lonely men. They have an AI robotic girlfriend. That's what this is.
Yes. I think that's possible. And so
It's
that's why
probably it's already being done. Do you know what I mean? Like that's weird.
yes, it's so obvious that that it could be a real use case in Japan for sure. Yep, I agree. So that's what I would just found three use cases, Michael. So let's see the first one that becomes the most mainstream and the key selling point for these robots. So it looks like cleaning as a head start. They all
Looks
they,
like
all-
my
they
robot and your robot are not going to be friends because mine's going to be cleaning, so its hands are going to be dirty. Yours is going to be cooking. What are we doing?
I think cooking. I don't understand why cooking is not solved yet. Like we are cooking the same way we used to cook 1,000 years ago, and I don't understand with all the technology we have, with like all the time we need to eat. Like we need to eat 3 times a day. It's so often. Like I'm not talking about like eating for entertainment or like for example to have fun when you go dinner, or eating when you bring people home and you want to give them a good meal. I'm not talking about
I know
that.
you're talking about just like sustenance. Like
I'm
how can
talking
I
about
eat?
exactly just like the daily grind that you have to do no matter what. And plus, on top of that,
Listen to you. You
eating
haven't
well,
cooked in your entire life. This daily grind thing you're talking about, you have no
Because
idea.
I hate that. Because I absolutely hate that. And
You
so
have no idea. That's the funny part. Have you ever cooked a meal for yourself?
I think my parents tried to get me to cook something like ten years ago, and I gave up. Like it's not for me. It's really not for me at all. And so I have zero interest. I think it's just a waste of time to spend, I don't know, an hour cooking something and 15 minutes to eat that. I think anyway. I think it's just the need every day, and plus like the fact that nobody really knows what is eating well for them. Like do you eat enough protein or enough of this, enough of that? Like food and nutrition is actually super important
So
for well-being.
I have a good use case actually, and that's
Yep.
shopping.
Yeah, shopping as well.
I'd love to send a robot down to down to Tops. Oh shucks, it's raining, and I need some grapes. Should I
Yeah.
go? No, let the robot go.
Which
It can do agentic payments. It can do micro payments. It can do micro ducks. Like it can do a whole bunch of things.
which by the way, they didn't yet do like the world humanoid robots with water fin, right? So they are not
Swimming.
swimming, they are not doing anything into the
Do you,
water
rem-
yet.
do you remember how like you were joking about how the robots had gloves on and had like
For
the head protectors on?
yes.
Could you imagine like a robot wearing a bathing suit for no reason?
That would be so funny. That would be really, really funny. But yeah, so far we don't do anything in the water. So if it's raining, Michael, you will still need to go to Tops by yourself. Sorry. For
Oh
now.
right, yeah. For now, unless they can get the robot to carry an umbrella.
That's that start to be really funny. But yeah.
Could you imagine?
Exactly.
Crazy
Exactly.
robot walking down the street with an umbrella.
But yeah, a lot of stuff happening right now in the world of robotics. I think that's really, really exciting. I really can't wait to see. I don't know what is the first robot that we buy. What is the first use case? Is it going to be hard to install it? I have plenty of questions. I really want to try.
Well, and to be fair, I think actually one of the other things that a robot would do is actually transportation. It's not going to be a humanoid robot, but that was the question was around what a humanoid robot would do.
Yeah.
And to be a little bit more serious before we move on to the next topic, I want to be on record as saying that I think robots as a category is going to be one of the biggest computing platforms ever invented by mankind.
It's possible. Yeah.
Because just think about, you have this phone in your pocket, right? This little computer in your pocket, and if you're using Siri or if you're using Google Assistant, you can ask it things.
Yes.
Now, imagine if it actually gets more useful and it's more like a humanoid robot. You can just go, "Hey, buddy, what's the weather like out today?" Do you know what I mean? Like they'll know all these things, but then they can interact with you like they're a human, not just like they're a speaker that sits
Yep.
on the counter, and you can just go, "Hey, Siri, can you tell me this thing, that thing, and the other thing?" And again, because if you can imagine just how hard balance and running is and how quickly they could impact that and make it better in just 1 year, just imagine how much better they could really make like Alexa or all these other tools if they actually put their minds to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I really agree with you. I think it can be a huge category, like absolutely insane. Maybe at some point, like you're right, like companies like Expand, for example, they are going to blur the limit between car and robots. Maybe it's just going to become one thing, right? Like
Yeah,
in
some kind of transportation thing.
just some sort of transportation thing, right? Like, and so it can have different shape, and one shape is a car, one shape is a humanoid, and then we're gonna have like more different shapes for the different use cases. So yeah, maybe it's just going to merge into just one thing.
Also,
But
why
yeah, I
does it have
think
to have just like two arms? You know what I
exactly,
mean? Like I understand biped because it's actually pretty effective and it doesn't seem weird, but like why not have 4 arms?
yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look, when you were a kid, didn't your mother ever say something like, "God, I wish I just had one more hand to carry this other thing"?
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah, no, so that's why I think it's a really, really interesting time right now. We have just witnessed the rise of AI. We are witnessing the rise of autonomous driving, and we may see as well robotics. Like it's a lot of new stuff in the world of tech, that is going to impact our life. So
Yeah,
pretty
there's
cool.
never been a better time to be
Mhm.
alive.
It's pretty cool. Yep, pretty cool. Exciting.
Okay. Do you want to talk about Ox Alpha?
Let's talk about that. Yes,
I'm just trying to see what we're doing. We're not going to get to Anthropic today.
we have 15 minutes.
That's okay. So Ox Alpha was this model that was out there just kind of looming around. And at the end of the day, it actually ended up being a Z.ai GLM 5.3 flash, right? And Z.ai, so Zepbu.ai has actually confirmed this. I don't know why they would do this. The anonymous model released on Open Code and on Open Road, it was August 20th. It was only like a few days ago. And the company is saying that it released it without telling people what it was, just to get some feedback before the formal launch. I don't know. Like, the approach created substantial attention because developers evaluated the model without knowing who built it. Okay, fair enough. But like, I don't know. You know the way I feel about this stealth thing.
So first of all, the full story is that there has been like a stealth model, OH Alpha, that has been released, I think, on Friday last week.
It was the 20th.
Or no, not
Thursday
not no
last
no
week.
no 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 no. We have Thursday today, so it was Tuesday. It was after Monday, because it was not released yet on our when we did the AGTP
Our
on
previous show.
Monday.
Yeah.
So it's either Monday after we did the show or Tuesday. So there's this release of OH Alpha stealth model. No one knows from who it is, and it's become like the second most used model, I think, on open code, like super fast. It's like one of the
Do you think it
one.
would have been slower if they just said this is GLM 5.3?
Maybe
But why?
it helps, but I think what helps the most as well is that they did it stealth. They say it's a stealth model, but also they say it's gonna be free for 7 days. Okay, so you can try it, and so then a lot of people access it, try it for free, and basically saw that it was really good. Like they spend like ton of tokens, like 42 trillion tokens in just 6 days. That
It
made
was
this model
free,
like
right?
because it was free. Yep, that makes it like one of the most used model ever in just a couple of days, basically. So absolutely insane. So everybody was talking about like who made this stealth model. That the number one I think that I saw the most on X before the big reveal was
Big
Google.
reveal. I think you're
Yes,
being way overly dramatic for this, man.
it's a big reveal, Michael.
What is it? What is this big reveal?
Exactly. No, that was a big thing in the last few
Slow
days,
down.
and so a lot of people thought it was Google who made this model.
Well, because they've been talking about releasing Gemini 5.7 or whatever,
Yeah,
3.7 or whatever forever. And
and
they've just mucked it up for like a long time.
exactly, yeah. And so at the end of the day, OH Alpha is actually GLM 5.3 from Z.ai, and they announced it this morning, I think, or it's 26th, and also
Here's the other
yesterday
thing too,
night.
is you only get to do this once, right?
Maybe
You know
not,
what I mean?
huh?
Like, they
If
can't
they,
release OX Alpha 2 and go like, we don't know
no,
whose it is.
no, but they can do a B3, you know?
No way.
If it just do like a random name, another random name, oh, I'm sure it's going to work, like no problem at all. It's going to work. People are still not going to. I mean, if you do it 5 times,
I'm
that means
surprised some
nobody else will
terrorist
do
group
it.
didn't take like credit for this.
No,
Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't it have been funny if Al Qaeda said it was like, hey, we actually released that model? We're
no.
changing, we're pivoting.
That's
We're pivoting from terrorism to AI.
that's better advice.
That's not funny. Okay.
That's much better advice, but yeah, no, I think it's so I didn't try yet GLM 5.3, but that's the new version of GLM 5.2, and GLM 5.2 when it was released was a big deal. And so even this one, it seems to be a big deal. I think it's smaller. I don't know if I have like the numbers here, but I think it's I think I saw it's like a 700 billion parameters, so not like in the trillions. And
320 billion parameters for each
20
token.
okay,
It activates 18 billion of them, so it's an MOE model.
okay.
And this limits how much of the network must run during inference. Obviously, we know that, yeah.
Okay.
But it activates 18 billion of the model's 320 billion parameters for each token.
Okay, so that's like a small model as well, right? Like they
Yeah.
are really going into that direction. The open weight model. They are not trying to get 3 trillion, 4 trillion, 5 trillion. They are trying to just get 700, 600, 300, and are trying to be more efficient and get the same stuff done with a smaller model. So it's actually really
How many
interesting.
how many parameters did the model that you tested use?
27.
27 billion.
Yes.
So it's not much smaller.
Is Quen an MOE? Let me check.
It's 2/3 the size, right? Because 18 over 27, yeah.
So I don't know if it's an MOE. 27 billion. Yeah, it's not an MOE. So it's 27 billion at like
So it just uses the whole model, which is
yes,
part of the reason why it's probably so slow.
yes, maybe. And then I also tested Muse Glimmer 30 billion. So the open weight version from
How was that?
Meta, and it was even slower.
Oh, really?
Even slower. And then there was another one I wanted to try, that was Bonsai 27 billion and Laguna Michael that we talked about on Monday.
Oh, right.
But Laguna was at 118 billion MOE with 8 billion active. So I don't know if I can run a 118 billion parameter model on my hardware. But if I can, I was like, maybe I'm gonna try that as well. But yeah, now it's GLM 5.3 and it's released, and it's still free for a couple of days, I think. And on at least open code they give it for free, and I think there's a couple of other platforms as well that you can where you can set it for free.
But besides being stealth and blah blah blah, like what's the big benefit to this? Like why is it such a big story? Is it just that it was given away for free, or like what's the big deal?
So it's the new version of 5.2, which was really, really good. Do you remember that when we
No, I
when
do,
we
I
talked
do, I
about
do.
5,
And it's high rated, but I
5.2?
mean,
Yep.
my question, like my whole contention here is that I think that the models are all going to be just a commodity.
So
Right, and I think,
it looks like that,
I think this partially proves that in the sense that, like, okay, do you know what I mean? Like when they went for, and again, we talked about this, but like when we went from Opus 4 point whatever to 4.6 and then to 4.8, it was a big deal because just the capacity and the skills that it could do were just so much better.
Yep.
But now going from like 4.8 to 5 or to Fable, it's like no one's really screaming that like this is amazing. And in other words, to me, it's almost like the iPhone 4S.
Yes. No, it's
which
true.
was just an unbelievable advancement, and everything after that was just kind of like,
Yeah. No, yeah.
it's a new iPhone kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
I think we reached this point back in April or May, right? Like Opus
For the models, yeah.
4.8. Yeah. Opus 4.8 was this iPhone 4S, right? And on the OpenAI side, it was what, GPT-5, right? And then that's it. And then that's pretty much it. But it's true. It's definitely true that I feel there is a massive fatigue right now from the public towards this new release because there is just way too many, right? Like there's,
but also to programmers. In other words, you said this earlier, but like the biggest use case for any of these models right now is agentic coding. And I think the coders themselves are just going like, you know what? I don't need anything more than this. Like it's good enough. It was the same thing with the like think about this. You have an iPhone 16. I forget what you have.
Yeah,
and I'm not
Pro.
being sarcastic. You have a 16, yeah?
Yes.
What was your iPhone before that?
7.
A 7. You waited almost 10 years.
Yes.
But again, not because you're crazy or because you couldn't afford it or whatever. It was just like, what's the difference?
Exactly.
The only reason why you bought a new iPhone, and again, nothing against iPhones, I have one too, but the only reason why you bought a new one wasn't because you wanted the newest thing. You just wanted one that turned on. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're getting there with the model. So my question is like, okay, OX Alpha was good and it's rated high and blah blah blah, and they did this thing where it was stealth, but like, why do we care?
Yes, I think we are definitely not in the moment back in March or April where there was every time a massive leap forward at each model release, right? Like it's not the case anymore. Now the models, but still, I think what's interesting here is that the directionality and the numbers of players, which means for us clients, at the end of the day, the number of options that we have and also the price that we pay is definitely going towards towards
Right,
cheaper
but that
and
but that
better
was
options.
happening anyway. I mean, Hugging Face has 3 million models on their platform,
Mm,
so
mm,
like
mm.
the increase in the number of models to me right now is de minimis, and at least the impact is de minimis. And we've been talking for months about the fact that the cost of this is going to at some point collapse to around or close to zero anyway. In other words, I don't understand why this model in particular. Like I get it, everyone's talking about it, but I'm just trying to figure out what about this model is such a big deal. And is this the last model that's going to get hyped like crazy? Only because they did something interesting around it, which was make it free for a week and then do it in stealth. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the next new thing that's going to come to make any model that interesting or that compelling so that people pay this much attention to it?
Yep, so that was definitely the interesting story. That was like they did it stealth and everybody tried and nobody could figure it out. Everybody even if you were watching what happened on Twitter like about this model, like
Yeah,
everybody
I was
came
reading and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it was just weird to me.
but so like came with their own theory of like they try to reverse engineer it. They try to understand in the CLI what was going on in the model structure. Like
Yep.
they were like massive in investigation. You know, like of people trying to
Yeah.
say like it's going to be this model or not. They try to
I guess if the agentic coding is doing all your work for you, you got a lot of free time to try to figure out like what the model because did they create like their own staging ground for this? In other words, like if you want any of the other Z or Zipu.ai models, you probably have to go to Zipu.ai or Z.ai to get it. Like where did you have to go for this? Did you go to Z.ai
open
and be
code.
like, I wonder if this is a Z model or not? It
So
seems to be in stealth. Do you know what I mean? Or did they create an
obviously
entire
not.
new infrastructure? Of
Ob-
course, I'm being a
Obviously
little
not.
sarcastic, but you know what I mean?
It was on open code, Michael, and there was another one as well. I don't remember which one was it, but it was on open code and another one who
Did
said,
anybody do a
"Hey,
diff on the files to see like if it looked exactly like GLM
so
5.2?
you should have participated. You had 5 days to try and to try to guess like
I was trying to
who
do
was
real work while like you know what I mean? Like I was trying to get real shit done while other people were just going like,
yes,
my agentic coding is working. So maybe
yes,
I'll do some research on this stealth model that's no
exactly,
different than any of the other models. It's just
exactly."
weird to me.
And so a lot of people have a lot of time, Michael, to do that. But yes, this was the funny story of the last few days. Yep. You want
Okay.
you want to talk quickly about Anthropic? We have 5, 6 more minutes.
We have 4 minutes, but okay. I mean, the only thing about Anthropic is they're going like we talked about this a lot, but this is just another indication of like they're loading up on compute capacity. So they've done a deal with N-Scale. And again, I don't know where they're getting the money from. Do you know what I mean? It would be like me buying a buying a Bentley, but I'll pay for it in 5 years. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
I want to secure a Bentley from you over the next 5 years. I want to rent it from some Bentley company, and I want to pay $45 billion for it. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not making a profit. They haven't raised any more money. But it's just interesting that they're so concerned about how much capacity they have because it's one of the things that they've planned for really poorly. And I think this is just an indication of that. Is that and this deal is unusually large for Nscale itself as well. Okay, this is a company that was founded in 2024 and raised $2 billion in March 2026 at a valuation of 14 points. It's just a weird company for them to lean on because that's what they're doing, right? They're leaning on Nscale for capacity. Yeah.
So 45 billion over 6 years to rent 460 megawatt of compute capacity at N-scale new data center in
In
West
Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah, in Virginia.
They will run an Nvidia chip, the next gen chip, and Vera Rubin.
Yep.
N-scale itself plans to spend about $71 billion developing the full campus, which is designed to run off-grid using natural gas turbines. Microsoft has reportedly signed a letter of intent for the site earlier this year, but backed out over the summer. And so now it's Anthropic who is going there. Okay,
Do
so
we know why? Do we know why Microsoft backed out?
no, we don't. We don't know why. We don't know why.
Mhm.
But yeah, like as we said, like it's one of the largest deal that has been disclosed in AI compute. Right, 45 billion. It's huge.
And by far the largest
Yeah,
scale of Anthropic for sure.
And so Anthropic has already committed to $1 billion per month to Colossus, right? Like Colossus
Yep,
1
yeah,
or
12
2.
billion dollars a year.
So 12 per year. This one is 45 over 6 years. So it's actually less. It's really a smaller deal than the one with Colossus. But we don't know like if Colossus is like a 5 years or 6 years deal. Like we don't know like what's the length, right?
Yeah,
So maybe that's why. But yeah, it's still like if that's true, that NCL itself plans to spend about 71 billion developing the full campus, Michael.
it's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge. It's huge, and just for 460 megawatts, it seems like a pretty small data center. No, like how big is Colossus?
I don't know off the top of my head.
What is that? That's SpaceX Colossus megawatts. I think it's in megawatt. Huh? Megawatts. 300 Colossus 1. And it operates over 220,000 Nvidia GPUs.
Right.
And 300. Okay, so it's like it's bigger than what they are doing right now with SpaceX. So yeah, but 45 billion is pretty crazy. But it's also crazy to me that they need to invest 71 billion to build it. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like where the the main costs are. But the other thing too is hasn't Dario come out over the past few days gone like, maybe your stock could be worth nothing.
Dario?
Yeah, he came out and he was saying things about to his staff, and he was like, first of all, he said a couple of weird things. One is it's a $30 trillion revenue industry. I mean, possibility, right? Is what he said that the AI business could possibly be, which is weird because the GDP.
Oh, you mean Elon Musk? You mean Elon Musk, not Dario?
I thought Dario was the one who said this. Anthropic.
Okay. So he said 30. So the 30 trillion market, like total market for AI, that's Elon Musk in the S1 for the SpaceX IPO.
The total US GDP is $32 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just think it's weird.
It is definitely crazy. It was definitely a weird number when you said that, yeah. But so that's why like, I think this investment of 71 billion. Also, like what's interesting, look, they say that it's designed to run off-grid using natural gas turbines. So that's pretty much like address the main problem that everybody say against the data center is going to be connected to the grid, it's going to take forever, it's going to raise electric price, blah, blah, blah. And here they say, actually, we're not going to connect it to the grid. We are going to run natural gas turbines.
Yeah, I'm not a natural gas turbine expert, so I can't really comment on that.
We don't know neither.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they make noise. I don't know what the pollution is like from natural gas. I don't know what the market is like for natural gas as well. Like the one thing we know, getting onto the power grid in the US takes 2 years. We don't know how long it takes to get natural gas to a place where they can actually use the turbines. What does Colossus run on?
I guess the grid. I guess they're connected to the grid.
They probably did that early enough so they could actually use the local power.
Yep, probably. But at least like it looks like they want to power themselves by themselves, right? Like
it's a good idea. I mean, look, one of the things that people were talking about was something like 30% of the energy that goes into these data centers should be renewable energy. That's not what's happening here. But the idea that the data center is off the grid, meaning it doesn't need the local utility to provide electricity, nor does it need to build its own electricity if it can use the power from gas-fired turbines or natural gas turbines. That's a great, turbines, that's a great thing if they can do that. There's some other questions around it as well, but at least people are getting creative about this. The real question, there are a bunch of questions here. It's like, why are they trying to secure so much capacity in advance? And if they're going to commit $45 billion to this, why not, didn't they learn from the Colossus experience that they should build their own data centers?
So I was about to say that as well, but then when you see that Netscale is actually investing 71 billion to build it, and then Anthropic spend 45 over 6 years, so that's what, 8 per year, right? So it's like a tenth of the required investment. Now maybe that explains why it's just way too much and they just don't have. And actually, it's not like they don't have. It's more like they didn't plan, or they don't have the type of investors who are willing to go on the infrastructure side, which is probably to me like a bad planning, because they could have done that. Like they could have raised money to also build a data center. They raised like hundreds of billions in total. So they could have included an extra 70 to build the data centers themselves. But it doesn't look like they went that route at all, right? Like, and so now maybe it's just like too much money that they don't have. It's just too much, which would be crazy, but
Yeah, but again, it must be economically viable. Otherwise, Nscale wouldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? And
so
maybe
I
they're not leasing all of their capacity. They probably have to just be leasing a percentage of their capacity to Anthropic. Otherwise, they'd be paying at least $70 billion for it. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, why would they just be paying at a discount? So they've got of that 460 megawatts, maybe they're not using all of it. Is that clear from this story or no?
No, I don't think we have any information about like potential over clients for Netscale. I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, but the capex to start is huge, right? Like 71 billion. It's like even for Anthropic and OpenAI, it's a big number.
Okay. So they're going to put 1.35 gigawatts of power there, and they're going to have 460 megawatts goes to Anthropic.
Okay.
It's about 34% of it. So 34%, 45 billion. Yes, they're definitely paying a premium for this. Right, because 35% of $71 billion is 24 billion dollars. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, there's just, again, this gets back to this conversation we were having earlier. It's like the numbers that we're talking about are so large, and we talk about them so matter of factly. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, whatever, it's $45 billion or $71 billion. It's just like, it's the value that is just being discussed here is just so large. It feels weird, right?
That's true.
And again, Nscale, according to the data that I have, raised $2 billion earlier this year. Which means that additional financing is definitely going to be necessary. You can't take $2 billion and turn it in. What are they going to do? Go to Vegas, red number 17, and just like hope it turns into $71 billion?
Yeah, no, they definitely. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're definitely gonna need more financing.
Hey, where did Bob go? I think he's in Vegas.
That would be a very funny strategy to finance your data center.
Do you put it past Anthropic though to be involved in anything like that? That's so great, because he literally did say, what if the value of the company goes to zero? Remember, because he was all about this thing a couple of weeks ago where he was like, oh, people here just want the money. No one's here for the vision. Let me tell you something. I was not at Goldman Sachs for the vision. Let's just be very clear about it. I don't know anybody else who was either.
Yeah, this film from Dario was also very funny. Yep. It was also
What?
very funny.
What are we doing?
Yes. But I think that's not the last deal like this that we see from Anthropic. Huh? I think
No.
it's gonna be. That's why, like right now, I think it's a really good time to be having a data center. Not if it's a good time to build a new one, but it looks like really, really expensive and really complex as well. But if you have data center, like, can't they put like 45 billion into buying a company that has data center? Is it really impossible?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing that
mm,
we've been talking about, right? Is like,
yes.
why can't they get to a point where it makes sense for them to do this? And again, this gets back to OpenAI and to Anthropic's like just lack of vision, no pun intended, from before to understand like what type of capacity they were going to need for this. I think they made two big errors. One is, what are we going to do with these models once they're finished? Is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like once they're useful for something. Their answer to that was, we don't know. And the other thing is, where are we going to run all this stuff? And they were like, yeah, we haven't figured that out yet either.
Yeah, true.
It's just, you know what I mean? So it's just interesting to me if they had been, if both of those companies, and I think this could be part of their potential downfall, right? Because if they're spending all of their capex and all the money that they raised just to secure capacity to run their stuff, in a world where those models are going to be commodities, it just feels like a weird way to run that business.
Yes.
And you've been right about this all along.
Mm-hmm.
All along, you've been right. You've been talking about this now for 6 months. And that is, the people that own the infrastructure are going to be the people with the most leverage. And that is playing out here. Nscale, had you heard of them before today?
Never, never, never,
Neither
never.
had I. And now they're building a
Mm.
$71 billion data center campus in West Virginia. And they've secured $45 billion of payment over the next, what do we say, 5 years, 6 years
Yes,
from
yes, yes, yes,
Anthropic.
yes, 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 yes. Huge, huge.
But you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely
neither
insane.
one of
Yeah,
us, and again, we talk about this every now and then.
yeah.
We are deeply ensconced inside the AI space. And yet we didn't know about this.
Nope. No, 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 no. So no, it's like infrastructure right now. But I feel like I feel like the one that had all the right ideas before everybody else was Elon Musk. Like he
Yeah,
started
for
to
sure.
build all of these things back in 2000 something, right? Like I don't even know when he started to work on space and think that it is a very long time ago. And then he built the data centers on Earth as well. He built more. He also announced that he's going to build more on Earth too. So he doesn't bet only on space, right? Actually, I would
I
love
told
to ask
you,
this question to Musk. That's the
I told you
one
the space
question.
thing was a head fake. I told you.
Yes,
I
I
told
really
you.
want to ask him that. Like, I really want to ask him that. Like, look, between you and me, do you really believe in space, or is it
Hey, look,
just
no
like a
one listens to anything you say. Okay,
exactly?
so no one's going to listen to this either. But if anybody asked you, are you really going to build something in space? What would you say? Like, no way.
Exactly.
Space. What are we talking about? It's ridiculous,
Exactly.
right? I whispered this shit into Phil Johnston's ear and he believed me and he built a whole company around this ridiculous stuff. No one's going to build any data centers in space. They may build it underwater, but even then, I don't think so.
Yeah, but so that's why I think it's right now. I don't know if it's the right time to start. It looks like everything is so expensive, but yeah, like for infrastructure is absolutely insane right now. Absolutely insane.
But again, just to
Mhm.
get back to one of the things we were talking about earlier, but doesn't this also argue for the fact that Nvidia has made a lot of the right choices once they figured out that like the GPU was going to be core to the way that artificial intelligence was computed.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, they have their own data centers as well. And Jensen Huang had decided a while ago that he wanted to build a full stack business, not just someone that supplied chips, right? Because he saw
Yeah.
this coming too.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was my other hot take for today, Martin.
Okay. Go ahead.
Jensen Huang is the new Steve Jobs.
Okay. 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 How so? Go ahead.
He's he's cool.
He is with his leather jacket
Yeah.
and like his
And
speech
his
on
on-stage
stage.
presence.
Yes.
Who would
Really
you
cool.
rather have on stage, him or Elon Musk? No, but seriously, it's not even a question. And Elon's smart. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing Elon. We've talked about this.
Mhm,
You don't have to like him as a as a person
mhm.
to respect the vision of what he's building.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. But he's not cool. And Jensen Huang is really cool. Plus, he's
Okay.
got that hairstyle.
Okay.
Steve Jobs always had a really cool hair. You're laughing. He always wears the same clothes. But the more important thing is he is building, right? So Steve Jobs used to say that his computer was the bicycle for the mind.
Okay.
And what Jensen Huang is building is the full stack AI infrastructure for the future.
Mhm.
He's going to build the hardware. They've already built software. They've already built their own chips. He has an unbelievable on-stage presence. And NVIDIA is one of the most powerful technology and one of the most highly valued technology companies in the world. Excuse me. And that's what Steve Jobs did.
Mhm, mhm.
And now when people want to get like some sensible comment on what's happening in the AI space, a sensible comment, they ask him.
Mhm. Okay.
And he has ascended.
Mhm.
And also there's one more thing that's really important. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company and Apple almost went bankrupt.
Yes.
And Jensen Huang has been through the same thing. I've
He has
thought
been
about this a lot, right? So
okay.
he didn't get kicked out,
Okay.
but he did make a lot of bad choices early on.
Mhm, mhm.
And he's figured out a way to recover, which Steve Jobs did. Steve Jobs required him to leave the company to figure out how to recover. Jensen Huang was fortunate enough not to have to do that. But in that sense, they've been through the same experiences and they've come out the other side way more powerful than they were before.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And in that sense, it feels like, and if you look at all the other people that are involved in the AI space, who else would you put in the category of Steve Jobs?
Yeah,
Because the
nobody.
other thing that
Yeah.
Steve Jobs knew how to do better than anybody, better than Bill Gates, better than who was the other Microsoft guy? I can't remember off the top of my head. Steve Ballmer. Was Steve Jobs knew how to talk to people.
Mhm,
He
mhm.
knew how to communicate.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me Sam Altman is the new Steve Jobs. He has no idea how to communicate with people. Neither is Dario. Neither is Elon. Neither is the guy who runs Cursor. Neither are any of the guys that run DeepMind or any of those companies. Those companies, and it's not disparaging them. It's just like they're just not good at it. But Jensen Huang is really good at this, and I think this is what makes him the new Steve Jobs. Is he can actually communicate to people what the vision is, and then he can also go out and build that vision as well, and that's rare.
And yeah, actually, I think you made a really good point. And also, maybe I would add to that I think Nvidia is a liked company. I don't
That's the
think
other point too. Yeah, sorry,
everyone.
no one hates
Yeah,
Nvidia.
I don't
Some
think
people
anyone
hate
hates.
SpaceX.
I mean, I think a lot of people hate SpaceX, even more hate OpenAI, even more hate Anthropic. What I think, like, if you ask,
do you remember that interview that you were talking about a couple of days ago, when people were like, why do you think people hate you so much? And he's like, they don't hate me, they hate you.
Exactly, yes. Exactly. But so I feel like Nvidia, everybody at the end of the day likes Nvidia, and this is part of the communication that Jensen Huang and the entire company is also doing. They never participated in the AI is going to be too dangerous for you. Actually, many times Jensen Huang has said like this is absolutely bad, and like so many times in the last 6 months he has been attacking like really like in a straight way, like straight attack to Sam Altman or Dario, saying like like they need to be open weight, they need to do that thing, and like it with like strong opinion, I would say, against the other AI players, but strong opinions for the people. Like at the end of the day, he was supporting he is supporting the popular opinion and trying to make that happen for the people. I think it's pretty much like how we should describe like what he's been saying and how people see them. Which at the end of the day, I think Nvidia really liked company. I think people feel like they are supporting them, they are helping them. Also, it's possible that the gaming history and crypto as well is also helping in a way, because
Exactly.
if you can play game, that's because of Nvidia. If you can mine crypto and make money, that's because that's thanks to Nvidia, right? And so people have been dealing with this company in a positive manner for a long time, thanks to these two things. And now you do AI thanks to Nvidia as well. That you buy graphic cards and all of that is still thanks to them, right? So maybe there's like this also this history of possibilities that Nvidia has enabled that is also helping here.
And I think that's why my hot take is he's the new Steve Jobs.
Jensen Huang is the new Steve Jobs. Yeah. I think like one of the biggest differences is that Steve Jobs was creating products, where it doesn't look like Jensen Huang is going to create product as sleek as the iPhone, right? It's not like
Yeah,
really
but I mean, you can make an argument as to whether Steve Jobs was actually involved in making the products, or if he just had an idea of like we don't know because we've never worked at Apple and we don't know anybody. At least, I mean, I know somebody, but I don't know them well enough to ask them. Like, did he just walk in and go, "We need a better phone"? And it needs to have a touchscreen. Like, was that the whole thing, or was there like a bigger vision there? Because we don't know. I can't be 100% sure.
Okay. Michael, we have our guest of today, Julian, who just joined. So I will leave you here. Give me a couple of minutes just to welcome him to the show, and then you can start the conversation with him.
Super duper.
Okay.
I look forward to speaking with Julian. Yeah, bring him in whenever you want.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today, and have a nice weekend. And I'll see you on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, as always. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, Martin. Let's talk a little bit more about Anthropic, just for a moment. I just want to make the point here that, look, I mean, the people that run these companies, Dario, big deal, but he's not the new Steve Jobs. And I had this thought actually over the weekend when I was trying to think about it, last weekend actually, and earlier this week when I was trying to figure out like what am I going to talk about that's actually super interesting about what's happening in the AI space in a way that maybe nobody else is thinking about it. And the one thing that I could come up with is that Jensen Huang is actually the new Steve Jobs. And if you're in the chat or if you're watching the show live, just tell me where you think I'm wrong, or tell me who you think is actually a better representative of who the new Steve Jobs would be. And I actually thought about like each one of those little individual details that I was kind of joking with Martin about. But I do think if you put all those things together, and look, there have been plenty of other people who have come around, even the CEO of Xiaomi, when he was introducing like one of the phones they had literally like was doing that pacing back and forth on stage, and he was wearing a pair of jeans, and I think he was even wearing like a mock black turtleneck shirt to try to simulate the fact that he looked like he was Steve Jobs. But even that didn't work. But what Jensen Huang has done, and I do think in this last detail that I brought up when I was talking with Martin, I think was one of the most important things, is that he's had really high highs, but he's also really had super low lows. Like there was some real fear that Apple was going to go away, and it almost did go away. And if it didn't take this sort of very strategic investment, it wasn't the only reason why, but it surely helped. If they didn't take that really strategic investment from Bill Gates and Microsoft, you may not have any of the stuff that we have today. And there was, and I think Jensen Huang was talking actually about who the savior was for Nvidia, but it's the same kind of experience. And I think there's this, what's the right way to say this? There's a certain amount of freedom that you get when you have a near-death experience. And I think that actually ends up being really important. Martin, are we bringing Julian in? I'm ready. Julian, it's been a while. I am very well. Where are you right now?
Silicon Valley. I'm in Palo Alto.
And have you moved there?
No, not yet. I am on a US tour, New York, San Fran, Bahamas. One of our platforms is licensed there, so we had an audit down there. So yeah, like 5 weeks in the US.
Super duper. Okay, we can talk about all that in a second. Look, I think we've been trying to get you on one of the shows for, I don't know, it feels like 20, 35 years. So it's good to have you here. I'm glad we finally convinced you to do this. I really appreciate it. And look, I want to talk to you about how regulated tokenization infrastructure is going to impact financial institutions participating in private and public markets, to be fair. But before we do that, for people that don't know, do you want to talk about IXS? Do you want to talk about InstX? Like how do you want to do this? But just tell us about the important stuff that your company's doing, and then we can dig a little bit deeper into some of the tokenization stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we run two regulated real-world asset tokenization platforms. InvestorX is licensed out of Singapore.
Yep.
It's a broker-dealer exchange. IXS is licensed out of Bahamas. It's under the Digital Asset Regulated Exchange Act, so it has crypto and custody and retail securities access. So yeah, so we run the two platforms. The original, why do we have two platforms? The original model was that InvestorX was more like a SEX model, like a centralized exchange model.
Yep.
And IXS was more like a DEX model, but focused on RWA, not necessarily crypto. So
right.
They're the two platforms. But yeah, we've been in the space, as you know, for quite some time. So yeah, there's a lot of happy to share and get into all these interesting questions you got lined up, and hopefully this adds value to the community.
Do you want to talk about where we are in the life cycle of real world assets being tokenized? Because again, you've definitely been at this for a while. You were a pioneer. I mean, I don't think that's an exaggeration to say this. I remember some of the first conversations we had about this. You were way ahead of the curve on this. Where do you think we stand now, and how close are we to getting this thing to actually be mainstream?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, the quick history was we all kicked off the very first players in 2018-19.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
That's right. And at that time, regulations in most jurisdictions were all up in the air because everyone was confused with crypto and everyone was confused with real world assets. Used to be called security tokens, and security tokens had KYC and there were securities, and it was very different from crypto and DeFi. So we had different terminology, we had different technology structures. It was very, very confusing for the world, I would say. And it was very difficult to build in that space. But at that time, from 2019 to 2024, most of the assets that anyone was looking to tokenize were all private assets. So the private asset were the only available instruments. They came with the same challenges that you have with any private assets, I guess. Scalability, size, price discovery, etc. But we had to start somewhere. What happened in 2024, 2025 was like a really one of the most significant developments for the space, which was the development of the first tokenized treasuries and tokenized fixed income products. So you started to see for the first time publicly traded instruments being tokenized, which was the first real product market fit for the stablecoin holders who were earning 0% interest. So professional traders, bigger investors really took up the first real buyers of RWA. And the same thing, in the same period of time, the industry rebranded from security tokens to real world asset tokens, RWA. So there was this interesting shift with a name change, but then some real product market fit. And then what that meant was you started seeing, tokenized treasuries, then money market funds, and more of this Wall Street, financial publicly traded instruments coming on chain. And that has then now kind of reignited the private markets, where you see everybody trying to tokenize all kinds of things. So that's the history of the assets. With that has also come Wall Street's come marching in. The Trump administration's Genius Act last year, which was the clarification of how stablecoins work, which also clarified that they will never pay interest. So there'll always be a huge growing use for stablecoins, and there'll be a huge growing appetite for yield-bearing RWA instruments, DeFi and securities. Right.
Can we talk about stablecoins for a second? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
So, again, you've been at this for a while, right? So I think your perspective on this is maybe different than most other people's. So one of the things that the Genius Act did say was that stablecoins themselves would not pay any interest.
That's right.
But US dollars don't pay any interest either. So that's not a big difference, right? So you're just basically taking an asset, you're digitizing it and saying it's going to behave in the same way. It's just maybe easier to transact. Does the global economy run the risk, you think, that stablecoins are going to become so prevalent that, and I know there's a lot of arguing out there today about how the dollar is not going to be the reserve currency anymore. I think that's going to take, if that does happen, and frankly, I think it's going to take way longer than people expect. But I don't think it's going to go away. But will the stablecoin then, because the whole point of the stablecoin is it gives access to US dollar assets to people that don't have access to potentially bank accounts or other ways to get access to USD, but because it's backed one-to-one, do we run the risk that some local currencies, and I ask this to a lot of people, but I'm curious about your opinion here, that some countries with small, sort of less powerful currencies will just lose their own sovereign currency because the stablecoin itself is going to replace transactions from inside the country to outside the country. But then internally, if I have a stablecoin and you want to sell something to me, couldn't I just give you a stablecoin for that too? And then the local currency just gets disintermediated.
Yeah. This debate probably raging around the world. Probably a lot of different opinions. My take on it is that, the reason for everyone who doesn't know, there was a lot of lobbying going on in Washington many years ago. The short story was that there was a bipartisan understanding that this was still in the Biden administration, even though they were anti-crypto, but there was an understanding in Washington that U.S. supporting and growing US dollar stablecoins is good for the US dollar, is good for America, increases US dollar dominance. Yeah, as you said, most use cases not for Americans, it's for people that couldn't get a US dollar bank account. And then obviously with the Genius Act, it became clear that America was very pro this movement and this growth. I think that things might sort of just stay the same. And what I mean is there is, so I just came back from Bahamas, right? Bahamian dollars are 1-for-1 for US dollars. So there's sort of an interesting market or an interesting jurisdiction or country where they're just sort of saying we're US dollars, but we have our own dollars as well, but they're worth the same amount of money. Now, obviously, other countries can't operate like that. Emerging markets and whatnot that have very volatile and weak currencies. I think that ultimately, I agree with you. It's very sticky. The concept that the US dollar will not be the reserve currency. It's like, okay, well then what is it going to be?
Right. Because we need a reserve currency. In other words, you can't convince me that within the next 6 months we're going to start pricing oil in Japanese yen or in Chinese yuan by the barrel. No one's going to know what that means. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it
I think
doesn't make any sense. There's no
I think it
historical
becomes
price.
velocity. And well, one thing that's also happening is that we're now starting to see the very first non-US dollar stable coins coming out around the world. And that's a new development this year. So other countries are now digitizing their dollars. So then that's why I think things might stay around the same because
But
yes, if they,
what's the big benefit? And again, I'm asking because I'm genuinely interested. So if Japan has their own stablecoin, and China has their own stablecoin, and let's say the euro turns into a stablecoin as well, what changes for the global economy if like the currency itself is just digital as opposed to because even today, like when I transfer money from my my yen bank account to some other proprietor who wants yen, it's just like it's still digital. Do you know what I mean?
that's right.
What's the difference if
Yeah.
it's a stable coin or if it's not a stable coin?
Yeah. What's interesting is, especially in Singapore, which is obviously a very developed market and very high tech market,
Yep.
being there for over a decade, you can see that actually, in my opinion, the development of stablecoins and crypto forced the banks to make their apps way better. It forced it now in Singapore, you can instantly send money to someone else or through your own bank account, like
Yeah.
instantly.
Pay
So
now.
to your point, that's become
Yep.
that it's become the speed of stablecoins per se. But look, ultimately, there's lots of different value. I'm not a stablecoin expert, obviously, I'm in the whole greater industry, but there's insane amounts of efficiencies to be had. A lot of banking transactions do take several days. The settlement, a lot of the banks have been and Singapore's got another great example. I think 2012 they were test driving bank to bank stablecoin transactions like
Interesting.
15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
To create efficiencies. So there's two ways I think about the simple way I think about it is a lot of people are into stable coins to create efficiencies and therefore save money, which equals more profit. Then there's other people that are into stable coins because they're developing whole new industries and whole new platforms and whole new use cases. And you're right, the current volume of stable coins or US dollar stable coins, last time I checked, 70-80% was of the volume is in Asia. So like in America, you're American, you can use $1 and you can buy an Apple stock. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to stable coins here because they are coming out and they're all getting infiltrated through everything because they're a better system. But historically, so far, the stable coins and buying real world asset tokens and all this other stuff has really been a products available for foreigners that want to touch the US dollar or touch US Treasury, like RWA assets that have been tokenized. So again, all of this is very, very pro-America. That's what it really is. And then,
What are the big benefits for the real world asset tokenization? Right. So I understand that when you say treasuries, you're talking about US government issued debt. Yeah. I just want to make sure that I understand that. Okay. So if US government debt, whether it's the long bond or the 6-month bill, is tokenized, what's the difference? Like, what's the big benefit for the world, or even just for the US Treasury, if it's tokenized or not tokenized, when for the most part, the biggest owners of treasuries are other governments that have no problem paying with just like regular dollars, whatever that means. Like, what's the big benefit of tokenizing?
I think
of turning treasuries into like a RWA and then tokenizing them.
Yeah, I think it was a function of the concept of stable coins. So, if you hold stable coins, Tether, Circle, other ones, historically, you earn zero interest. So it's even lower than a bank, right? A bank might pay you 10 basis points for cash in your account, and this is zero.
Yeah.
And now that is written into law. The US government said through the Genius Act that we like stable coins. This is how you need to do it, and you're never allowed to pay any interest, and that protects the banking industry and the deposit, the banking model.
So
basically.
you have to turn it into fiat currency to be able to earn interest in a bank account.
But essentially, the treasuries was people saying, well, up until that point, the only thing you can buy with crypto is other crypto, and if you consider stable coins, so then it was like, and it's usually a bear market that delivers new products. Well, usually it's a bear or a bull market where you see things coming out. So what happened in one of the I think it was one of the DeFi meltdown round 5 was people were like, why don't we, what if, because the DeFi yields compress massively. So when it's a bull market, everyone's giving out token A, get more token A, and it's all just funny money made out of nowhere. And that's great on the way up, and on the way down, it's a house of cards and everything falls apart.
Right.
So at that point, I think DeFi yields were very low. I mean, Bitcoin pays nothing, but Ethereum has a yield. Other tokens have yields, which again is just coming out of the same treasury.
Right.
People went, all right, what if these stablecoin holders don't want to go into cash? They want to stay in stablecoins. So why don't we put the highest quality real world yield in the planet out there, liquid, et cetera, on chain, so these guys can come in and out. If there's daily redemption, then these guys will, and that's why people liked it. They're like, I can get 4% real yields and I can come out anytime if there's another bull market or I want to do something with my stable coin. So it was basically a product that made a lot of sense to the industry because we'd never had anything like it, except, you know, and that was where sort of TradFi assets coming in. And then that led to this kind of explosion of everyone trying to do all kinds of things in private credit and then commodities. And then, you know, everyone getting, you know, Wall Street in particular and regulators in particular saying, okay, everything's going to go on chain. And now there's sort of this race from the institutional mindset of like, we need to get all our assets on chain. You know, the whole world's moving in this direction. It's no one else. Well, no one wanted to be first, but everyone wants to be second. So BlackRock sort of put the yellow jersey on and went out in front. And now it's just like this, you know, there's 40,000 other asset managers all trying to work out how to get going. So yeah, it's exciting times, but it's been a development. And as you know, so it's been since 2018-19. So it's almost 7 years to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of my favorite sayings is everyone's an overnight success 10 years later. So you're almost there. You're almost an overnight success.
Yeah, it's, you know, what's also happened though is like, you know, it has been highly volatile, but from an industry perspective, right? You know, with crypto, still, you know, real world assets have always been our focus. It's always been a real use case for blockchain, and now because of the recent bear market in crypto, a lot of the crypto guys have all gotten on board with it. Whereas many years ago, people used to like yell and scream at us that, you know, security tokens are stupid and KYC is dumb, and, you know, why would you tokenize equity? That doesn't make any sense. And we used to get all these comments, and now it's sort of like the only thing working in the space is stable coins and real world asset tokenization, and you know, the memes and the metaverses and the NFTs are all in the toilet. And I don't say anything negative about that. That's
how happy are you that the metaverse died? Seriously. But I mean that seriously, because when you know this, right? But you know that the metaverse was swirling around the real world asset thing. Not because they were directly related, but because it was just another thing that people came out with. They're like, this is going to be the new thing. And the people that believed in RWA or securitized, you know, tokenization of securities were still sitting there going, we haven't even accomplished this yet. Yeah. And it's come full circle. Here's another question though, right? Because the metaverse
is the metaverse thing. Just one thing on the metaverse thing. Yeah. Right. I looked at it because, you know, we've got to look at all these things, right? What's the innovation? What maybe looks silly today might be huge tomorrow, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I said, okay, friends of mine were buying land in the metaverse. And I said, okay, which metaverse? And they said, this metaverse. What's a piece of land? It's basically an NFT. I said, okay, so why is the land, if it's real estate, why is this real estate better than that real estate? And they said, oh, it's closer to the temple or whatever. I said, yeah, but so how do you get around the metaverse? You go, oh, you just fly, like with a click of a button. That's what I remember this conversation. And I said,
okay, that's weird, but go ahead.
Yeah, but so therefore, real estate is valued based on proximity to everything else. But if everything else is a click away, then none of this stuff is any different from anything else, right?
Yeah, there's just no such thing as proximity because there's no such thing as distance.
That's right. So then I was like, I'm out. Yeah.
Do you still laugh about, and we'll get back to RWA in a second, but do you still laugh about the fact that Facebook changed their name to Meta?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it is. That's right. He went all in.
He did go all in, and he was wrong. Can we just go back to this? What is the big benefit of settlement moving on chain? Right. And again, one of the conversations I had with somebody else in this space was this, is that like, I operated in the financial markets for 25 years. I never had a settlement problem. I never had a money movement problem. Swift always seemed to work for me. Like, what is the big benefit of moving settlement on chain? And why is there this big rush now? As you said, like you're right. Like BlackRock is moving to get all this stuff on chain, and nobody wanted to be first, but everyone's happy to be second. What is the big benefit to people is on chain? Is it just like a more efficient technology? I'm just trying to understand.
I think there's quite a lot of research now from, banks and institutions that the 5, 10, 15, 25% savings of administration costs by using sort of a blockchain ledger versus, for argument's 5 humans transacting. You're right. It's definitely got a lot more efficient and better anyway without blockchain.
Yeah.
But often it's really a legacy system challenge for those big guys like New York Stock Exchange and ASX in Australia. They both had wildly unsuccessful, very expensive attempts to build RWA security token products on their existing infrastructure years ago. And it sort of became more apparent that you kind of need to the legacy system is so old. There are so many participants involved. There are so many middlemen involved. You kind of have to just build something parallel that's completely different. And that's the interesting part. Like, there were so many people in the middlemen game, because finance is just a whole bunch of people in the middlemen, right?
Believe me, I know. I used to joke with my brother. I'm like, if I ever lose my job at Goldman Sachs, the only thing I'm qualified to do is like be your housemaid, because like all I was doing was being a middleman. Like, I knew that at the time.
So with that in mind, one of the people always ask, like, why has it taken so long to get here? And first of all, it hasn't taken that long if you look at the history of the world.
No.
But the main thing was none of these middlemen wanted to get out of the way.
Yeah,
because basically it kills their whole value proposition.
Well, their vested interest was involved in being a middleman. So for sure,
that's right. So it's changing and upgrading all the time. But at the end of the day, I think that there's money to be made. There's clear value from user experience. There's a whole new world of products coming, which is something that people don't really think about. Like, when you think about the concept of RWA tokenization is not that exciting if it's just like, well, I'm tokenizing my company shares.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? It's like, okay, but why did you do that? Well, maybe if I did that, I could take them to our platform and someone would lend against that. So that, as a private shareholder, very rarely, unless you're a massive company, could you get anyone to loan you money against your shares, because where are the shares? What are they valued at? All that kind of stuff. So you can think about, as one example, a tokenized equity of a startup. If that was legitimately, transparent, on-chain, etc., you could then start to see a whole new markets where people could, use those assets in different ways. To give you one other example, JP Morgan's original platform was called Onyx. I think it's called Kinetics now or something. I can't remember the name. Their whole platform for many, many years has only ever been about tokenizing assets of the bank for their clients. And I said, what type of assets? And they said, oh, everything really, but mostly publicly traded assets. So why would you need to do that? Like, because in the format, in the old world, many of these assets and lots of different financial assets, you can't use them as collateral because of how they're structured. So as one just touch point, like JP Morgan tokenization efforts, that's been the focus to make those assets more usable in a tokenized format. So then people could bend, and there's a whole new world of value, right? So then on top of it, you've got coming down the pipeline, RWA is essentially programmable securities. So you'll have new forms of debt, new forms of equity, things that you can do on it. And again, Wall Street's the king of creating all this derivatives and options and all these. So, I think it's just going to exponentially grow all the things you can do, but ideally to be a lot more transparent and there'd be more mechanisms behind that. I think Wall Street will do what it does, and they'll probably still, blow the whole thing up at some point. But like, I think that's how I think
generous
about it.
of you, but probably true.
Yeah.
What does the programmability add to the ownership? And again, I'm just thinking out loud, actually, because I'm trying to figure out in my own head, like I understand what the programmability of money does. I get it. And I actually like it in some cases, right? Because think about this. Think about a government that says, I want to give an entitlement program to someone for food. Right? That's what food stamps were, like RWA for food, right? You could take it to a supermarket, but you couldn't buy you couldn't buy a house with it. You couldn't buy a car with it because it was food stamps. So if you could program money so that you can only buy, like, you couldn't buy alcohol, because now you're making a moral judgment as well, right? Like, I don't want you getting drunk on this. I just want you to eat. So it's for sustenance.
That's probably, that's coming, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely coming. But I can see why that matters, for better or for worse. But what about the programmability of?
Well, I'll give you one.
Another security that's not cash related. That's not fiat money related.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one example, which I think is easy for most people to comprehend. Like, think about think about a mortgage
Mhm.
or loan to somebody, right? Often people have loaned money. There's an agreement. I've loaned to, Bob and Jane have loaned money to each other, and
Yep.
there's collateral involved. There's an agreement.
Yep.
When it gets to the payback date, Bob doesn't turn up, right?
Yeah.
And Jane's like, "Oh, well, you owe the money." It's like, "Yeah, well, it's coming months and months." And in the old paper world, that can just spiral to nowhere. And then she's hiring lawyers. She's trying to, so the whole thing's like, there was an agreement that you must pay this back on this date or I'm taking back the house, kind of thing. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Now and it never really works like that. Where in
No.
a tokenized security world, you could have a smart contract where what we just said is programmed in. So at midnight on the 31st of January, if that $1 million of stable coins is not back in that title property transfers to Jane, there is no debate, right? But that's how I kind of think about the very simple version of like what's some use cases for programmable securities. Other people, like even Citibank, did this great report many years ago that got me excited. It was like, think about a building, right? And typically you have like a commercial building, even maybe some shops and some offices and whatever. Typically you have like debt and equity, right? There's someone that owns the asset and there's someone who owns the mortgage. And that's pretty much that simple. But they were like, well, what if a tokenized world and you had different forms of debt and equity? You had revenue streams that you could tokenize, the revenue from the signs, the advertising components, and basically split this whole building into this digital ownership with hundreds of different revenue streams that could be, split into lots of different ways. So that's kind of the moonshot, I guess, the big picture of what could happen. Yeah, and there's just a couple of ways that I kind of think about it, and ultimately, I think that again, like even debt products, mezzanine debt products, loans, private credit, there's all these people, there's bazillions of dollars being loaned all around, and like there's also bazillion lawsuits flying around because people don't actually execute when the time comes because of whatever different reasons. So I think there'll be some better ways to do deals, better investor protections, but then I think there'll be new products as well. I think there'll be a new way to invest into tokens. Crypto tokens have shown sort of how you can rapidly raise a lot of money, again, whether it's speculation or gambling, whatever you want to call it. You can rapidly raise a lot of money and give ownership in some format, online, cheap, fast, etc. So you'll start to see the combination of old school fundraising for companies like startups and all this kind of stuff with this combination of tokenization. And then you start to see new ways that people are getting ownership, right? There's different types of ownership in the company, whether it's revenue streams or it's equity or it's like the utility token. And that I think is going to really, exponentially grow.
Do we think that I'm uniquely interested actually in the tokenization of startup companies' stock, startup company equity? And part of the reason why is because I've been trying to, and you and I might have spoken about this years ago, I don't remember, but I've been trying to come up with a way that's like rock solid to be able to short the stock of startup companies.
You mean not publicly listed startups?
Not public listed, I'm private listed. In other words, I would have borrowed and sold as much WeWork shares as I possibly could, because that was clear that was like some kind of Ponzi scheme or house of cards, but there was no way to short WeWork.
That's right.
There was no way to do it. And I'm curious, and again, WeWork is just the perfect example of this, but there are like even Elizabeth, what's the woman's name who's in jail now because she did that whole thing on the metaverse? Theranos. Like you would have shorted Theranos because once the news came out that it was a scam, you would have wanted to short it. But again, that's impossible. Does tokenization of those private assets give a way to short that kind of stock, or am I just dreaming?
I would say it's 100% possible. If we did have 100 shares of a company tokenized and, someone wanted to sell them to you and there was a market for it. And yeah, I think that's 100% the way it is. There's a clear path to that being completely possible. Right. It's interesting. I've been talking to a lot of people recently. Tokenized stocks have become a thing, predominantly driven by the crypto exchanges wanting real assets on the exchange versus just pure crypto.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the crypto exchanges going, we don't just trade crypto here. You can actually trade real world assets that have been tokenized because the whole system's set up for things that have been tokenized. Yeah,
that's right. And so what's interesting is that so there's lots of different formats for this as well, by the way. There might be 10 tokenized stock products out there. There's like 10 different structures when you peel off all the layers and get into it, which we do as a business, but most people, don't look that far. But the point I was going to make is that we're looking at bringing out lending and borrowing against stocks. And the only way that you can actually do that so the way that you need to do that so the investors don't get shafted is you have to stop the old system, which is typically the brokerage lending out those stocks or selling those stocks to other people.
Yep, stock loan, stock borrowing, big business.
Yeah, like I heard yesterday that Robinhood offers this outright, but they keep like 85% of the fee on an investor's stock.
I'm not sure Robinhood's a good example of anything, but yeah.
Yeah, enough. I know. Well, yeah, but
fair enough.
My point is that we're looking at working with a group where those stocks will not be lent out to anyone because we want to use them so there'll only be once that could be used, and that's starting at public stocks. But yeah, essentially the reason why you haven't seen much tokenized private company stock yet, predominantly because the founding teams have not sanctioned it. Right. They don't necessarily want.
Yeah, they don't want it for sure, because then they lose control over what can happen to those assets, right?
That's right. So secondaries of private assets is still one of the least explored areas of tokenization, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's weird too, because cap tables also have their own rules, right? I mean, private companies have their own rules. And I think once you get into tokenization, you may have to change some of the rules around how those cap tables get managed.
Ideally, you'd start the company from day one with all of this basic stuff would be possible. But now that that's not happened yet, you've got people saying, well, if we tokenize the SPV shares that we have, because we're an SPV on the cap table, so it's not illegal, we can do whatever we want with our company shares. But then it's not an actual share of the company. It's a derivative of, it's indirectly connected. And then the question is, like, do you want, I think Robinhood even tokenized OpenAI stock. And then Sam Altman went nuts online and said, you take that down. Like, this is not.
No one said you could do that. Like, that's my stuff. That's right. No one said you could do that.
And they were like, oh, it's shares we own. They're our shares in our own SPV. You can't tell us what to do. But yeah, anyway, it's an area that will develop. People will get more comfortable. You'll start to see more of it. I don't know exactly when, but I think that'll happen for sure.
So this leads to another question is, like, what does have to change for tokenization? Because we're still kind of in like an experimentation phase a little bit, right? Because it's not 100% mainstream. What has to change for it to actually go mainstream? And for sort of, because you're right, if a company has tokenized assets from the moment they are birthed, then the whole concept of how that company and how that stock or how the debt associated with that company trades is going to be completely different. But bolting tokenization on later, whether it's to a startup company or even to an existing institution, just makes it hard because no one's really used to it, whatever that means. But what has to change for this stuff to get to be mainstream as opposed to just sort of being off to the side?
Yeah, look, I think it's happening right now. And I think everyone predominantly is just going to skip all the stuff that we've talked about. And what I mean by that is, we always envisaged a world where the crypto exchanges would add stable coins, way back, right? And then they'd add RWA, because RWA is a much bigger universe that would have to be on chain securities and all kinds of stuff. You'd have the same movement from the fintechs, which has been proven with Robinhood, stablecoin, crypto, RWA. So clearly now, I think we live in a world of platforms, and even the banks, like, we don't very rarely touch cash. Like, I don't think I've touched cash in 4 weeks since I've been moving around America. I don't have any cash on me. But my point is that I think that the people will just see these assets just like their interactive broker's account. You see stocks and you're buying and selling, and you have no idea what you really own behind closed doors. Everyone just sees, I own 100 stock and it's worth $2 today, I'm going to sell it. So I think that's just where it goes. And then all this plumbing and this architecture and all this interesting, cool stuff that groups like we're working on, they're just facilitating stuff in the background. And it really comes down to platforms where people come and they try to make one click to get into whatever it is. And like, that's the direction of travel. And even Coinbase says, we're going to be the everything exchange. You can buy everything on us, right? So, and that's, obviously a big marketing statement, but the point that I think is that we've made crypto much more accessible to the rest of the world by putting it into the normal instruments. ETFs, MSTR stock, whatever, way back, you know, it was like, oh, you need to, you know, read the Satoshi paper and create a node and go online and create like all the stuff that, like, of course, 99.99% of people don't understand, will never understand, and will never do it. So I think that with this RWA thing, it's just going to the improvement for how it works underneath, whether it's and the increase in assets and the potential lowering fees and all this stuff will just happen as we go. And then for the users, they'll just start to see all these things in places where they're used to buying and selling. And that's the mainstream component where they don't even, you know, maybe not even talking about RWA. It's just like, this is available and it's a stock of this, or it's gold, or it's real estate, and RWA disappears. And it's just, that's it. It's tokenized.
Yeah. I mean, look, at some point, and I've been saying this for a bunch of years as well, this idea of like DeFi and TradFi merging, it's just going to be Fi. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be finance. I think that's exactly what you're suggesting here. It's like, no one's going to talk about real world asset tokenization because at some point, everything's just going to be digital. It's just going to be tokenized. We won't even talk about it anymore.
That's right.
It's just going to be a different way to transact.
That's right.
Yeah. And I kind of don't just like, I don't know what the benefits are to all of this. I understand the new product creation and stuff, but the world is going digital. And I think that's what's going to happen regardless of like what the upside or downside is. I don't think we fully understand like what the implications of this are yet. We can guess, right? Because in the old days, we would have talked about fractionalization, you know, giving and democratizing access to certain assets. I don't think that's going to happen in the way that people expect it to. But I do think once you systematically change the way these assets get issued and the way they get traded and the way they get recorded and the way they get settled, things are going to change. We just don't. I don't think we know what they are.
And on that point, I think that's really key. Like, if everything just improves without anyone really doing anything, one of the big benefits will be that the ledger shows real ownership and it's not meant to be rehypothecated 500 times over. And there's more stability. But again, humans are behind all this stuff, so they'll probably create the same amount of drama. But that's one of the promises, you know.
Fair enough. Okay, man. I've already taken up way too much of your time today. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. It was great to have you on. You're always welcome to come back, particularly on this topic. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope you have a great trip, and I hope you have a safe trip home as well. And give my best to your family too.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on. Great conversation. Happy to come back anytime.
It's my complete pleasure, man. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Okay, that was just another incredible episode of AGTP Insights. Thank you again to all the people that watched. This was one of our most watched episodes as well. Thank you to everybody for joining us. We love interactivity. Give us a thumbs up on today's video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for sure. Follow us on all of our socials, on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. And let us know in the comments across all of those platforms if there's anything you'd like us to cover, or if you just have any questions for us based on the content that we've produced today, or any of the stuff that we've already produced, or anything where you have a question, particularly about topics that we cover. We'll be back again on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you again to Martin Runford as well. My name is Michael Irwin Waits. I'm going to say goodbye for now.